Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon and I are going to do a 2025 NBA mock draft, breaking down all of the top 30 players and potential fits with teams throughout the first round. Let's just hit the music and get into this thing.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you? Broken record here, but the NBA playoffs deliver yet again on Monday night with the Knicks come from behind, down 20 in the third, win in overtime. And then I didn't stay up and watch it live since we weren't going to record after, but I caught it today, watched the second half of the Nuggets Thunder game, and how about that ending? So 2 tremendous games on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're going to break all of that down either tomorrow or the next day, whenever we record again. I have many thoughts on fouling up 3 with 11 seconds to go and with Jokic off of the court. No idea what happened there with Oklahoma City. And now, we're a couple hours from game time, or, an hour from game time, I guess. And Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and DeAndre Hunter are all out for the Cavs tonight in a game against the Indiana Pacers, where Indiana can go up 2-0 in that series. So fascinating situation right now in the Eastern Conference to me, especially after the Knicks won game 1 in a way that was a bit fascinating as well, that got done. Shout out GMAC. But today we're talking about the teams that are not in the playoffs. We're talking about the teams that are in the lottery. Some teams in the playoffs, I guess, when we get past the lottery. But this is NBA draft time. And I feel like the fans of the NBA draft are the ones that are not necessarily having all that much success in the playoffs. And I'm excited to talk through some of these prospects with you. And we open this with every mock draft that we do. I think this is the 4th one that we've done this year, with just a simple question. Have your thoughts on this draft changed in any way? Do you think this is a little bit deeper? Do you think it's not as deep? Do you think that there's a drop-off point? What are your feelings on the strength of this draft class?
Yeah, I feel pretty same at the top. The first 2 names I like. They're in separate tiers. Then after that, it gets a little interesting. I've come to like a few more names at the top as I went back through all of these. Since our last mock draft, I went back and watched some extra film on essentially every player we're going to talk about, while also trying to get a little bit more in depth on some of the second rounders that we won't talk about today. So I think I feel a little bit better about the lottery than I did at one time. It'll be interesting as we go through this to find like who you can match with who and those type of things. I found some more interesting names at the end of the first, which had me excited. There's a guy at the end I will probably take if you don't take him first that I'm interested to talk with you about. But then I do think there's a drop off. Maybe by the end of it, maybe 40 players, maybe. I don't have the exact number, but NIL is crushing the depth in the second round, in my opinion. It was already hard to find second round guys, but it was always there. I'm not saying they aren't there. I'm just saying there's going to be a lot of names that fall out where then you get after that and it's like, I'm just trying to fill out, 70, 80 names of guys that I believe in at all that like should even be two-way or anything like that. So I do think that's hit this draft and potentially even more as we get closer to the withdrawal date.
Yeah, I mean, look, like there are a number of players that are still testing. I mean, we've got Yaxel Lendeborg, Cedric Coward, like Boogie Flan, Tahad Pettiford, Darion Williams, Milos Uzan. Like there are a number of players that are still trying to figure all of this out, right? But there are way fewer than what there typically are in a normal year. And at the end of you can see it in the early entry list numbers, right? Like there were only 105 I think players that entered early. The big place that I think is actually getting decimated is not the college guys, although the college guys are getting decimated.
Yeah,
It's the international guys going to college.
Yeah.
Like Nikos Avdalis, the Greek kid from Peristeri. Like the feeling is that he's probably more likely to go to college. It feels like right now, he's testing and will go through the process. And you and I both really like him a lot. Like he's a really talented player.
Really interesting, Sam.
But like the feeling is that, he probably ends up in college. And, guys like Ben Henschel, right, for Perth, like there's a real chance that kid ends up in college, right? Dame Sarr, didn't end up on the early entry list this time. Like there's a number of players, right? So it's really, really interesting, I think, how that whole thing has impacted this process. More than anything, to answer my own question, I think that you and I have just never been quite as high on this class as what everybody else has been. We love the top player. We really, really like the second player. I think Dylan Harper is like a totally average number 2 overall pick. And that's to say that, like, I think that, he has a real chance to be an all-star, borderline all-NBA guy. Like, I am a big fan of Dylan Harper. But beyond that is where it gets really, really questionable for me. And that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around a little bit in terms of where the upside swings are, who are the upside swings, do they exist at a certain level, and trying to figure and slice through all of that.
We'll talk through these players, but, one of the big criticisms we got from the last mock was Wizards fans didn't like my pick at 5. And I will be honest, the player I took there, I've actually come away a little bit lower after going back through film, but they were upset that I didn't take a bigger swing on a player. And I'm like, I'm with you. I don't know that once you get past 2, there is the swing. I mean, you want to swing on Common developing a jumper? Is that really the swing you want to take somewhere else
not
in
really
the top?
For me.
Not for me either, Sam, especially when the floor could be somewhat low with that. And so to me, it's like, okay, well, if you don't really think you can take a swing, are you better taping? Like, if you just think Con Knippel is going to be a really good advantage exploiter and team defender, like, that sounds okay to me once you get past 2. And I think that's why every draft is unique. We have to take every draft, and as you can't say, well, that's not a number 3 pick. Every draft determines what a number 3 pick should look like. And so that's just important context to remember, because this isn't the Wemby draft where the number 3 pick was going to be Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson, and that you're going to be really excited about the upside of that. It looks different now, but remember what it was then. And that's not this class, in my opinion. And we'll get into why as we draft these guys.
I agree. Okay. Do you just kind of want to jump in and go through this?
Yeah.
As opposed to going for like 15 minutes in the start, as opposed to let's go for 7 now?
Sure.
Okay. So I have done.
Which, real quick, because we have a TV show we have to talk about at the end this episode, Sam. I would like to talk about the pit at the end.
We will definitely do that. I have done a lottery simulation. Again, the lottery is next week. The combine is also next week. We're going to get some answers on all this stuff. But we wanted to do a pre-combine, pre-lottery mock draft just to kind of have it out there.
This is amazing.
The number 1 pick goes to the Toronto Raptors in the simulation. I did one simulation, and it was the Raptors. Shout out the Raptors. Shout out Raptors fans. You guys get the number 1 pick. Bryce, I'll let you go first, man. Like, let's just go crazy.
Let's do it. And I'm not going to play any games here or be silly or whatever. Cooper Flagg is the number 1 pick for the Toronto Raptors. This would be really, really interesting. I think Toronto is a really interesting team in this draft anyway. I tried to do a little bit of preparation for this in terms of what do I think team needs are, especially for lottery teams and all of that. And the Raptors, I literally put, I don't know. Like, I don't know what they need. Do they need a point guard, or do they think that's going to be Scotty Barnes? Do they value more shooting? Do they need a backup center eventually for Jakob Poeltl to replace him? This makes it real easy for Toronto, right? You take Cooper Flagg. I feel like it's an interesting fit in terms of his talent, because Cooper Flagg fits anywhere, and you sprint to the podium, you take him, and then you figure out your roster after this. And we've talked about it, this allocation of talent to maybe go get another name. You draft Cooper Flagg, Maybe you take a couple of these guys, put them together, trade for a bigger name, and then you build around Cooper, Scotty, and that guy or something like that. So it would be interesting, but this is a no-brainer, of course.
So Cooper Flag, 6'8", 6'9" somewhere in that ballpark. Real playmaker and difference maker across the court. 19 points, 8 rebounds, almost 5 assists per game. Really improved his overall playmaking ability across the court this season in terms of creating his own shot. Really became effective at hunting mismatches and creating jumpers or creating little step through opportunities, situations that were advantageous to him. Was fantastic, particularly in the second half of the season. More than that, though, Cooper Flag, the reason I love him is, a guy that just plays hard all the time. He is undeniably a player that is like a culture to himself. If you talk to anybody around Duke, they will tell you that, like, from the moment that this guy got here, the intensity that he brought, like in practice, on a day-to-day basis, to caring about his future and caring about this team's future, was just very, very high level, and was clearly elite. Someone asked in the comments, do you rate him over Zion as a prospect? I personally do. And the reason for that is just that Zion always had injury questions. Like even going back to high school, he had a couple of injuries that were a real factor there. Cooper does not really have those. And on top of it, what Cooper has is the processing ability and the ability to like make crazy rapid decisions across the court and understand how to map the court as a passer and playmaker, plus be able to, I think, play at a high level on defense in a way that Zion was like a great playmaker on defense, but would like miss rotations. So you do that. Like Cooper's a lot more solid and steady as a overall defender. Just some other notes here. I mean, yeah, ultimately, offensive play as a shot creator is why he's one of the best prospects of the last 2 decades. Utilized him as their primary playmaker. Over his final 20 games, Flag averaged 23 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, while shooting 55, 48, 86. That is completely bonkers. Created a ton of advantages. With ball screens, was a constant mismatch nightmare in college. Was a pick and roll ball handler to an ISO threat. When he saw a mismatch, they'd run him off of screens. He was awesome as a roller and as a cutter, moves really well without the ball. Like that, there is just there's not really a hole with Cooper Flag to me in terms of what his game is.
Yeah, I think the jump shot was so much further along than I thought it was going to be. His balance, he has really good footwork. He still could work on relocation and some of that stuff, but I've seen him do it a little bit. You mentioned he's able to do it off the dribble. What it comes down to is the offensive versatility. Corner cutter, pick and roll roller or handler, transition, offensive initiator in some capacity. And I would think, and that's where like Toronto would be interesting in terms of the lineups they could put out there. Think about the mismatches you could put on the court. I would like to talk about the on-ball defense, like of him and Scotty together, because him and Scotty, I think, are both best used as off-the-ball type of players, not primary defensive matchup type of players. But I do love his off-the-ball defense. I underlined in bold communicates because he just did it over and over and over, rotates, rim protection. I do want to ask you about his on-ball defense before we move on. And whenever you're the number 1 pick and you're talking about face of the franchise and better prospect than Zion and stuff like that, I think it's fair to nitpick an aspect of his game.
Yeah, of course.
I think he's at least neutral on the ball. I came away from my most recent watches a little less excited about like the matchup versatility and the point of attack defense and his ability to just like really guard in his hip fluidity, being like elite level type stuff. Like he's not Tumani Kamara or something like that as an on-ball defender. Do you agree with that, or am I being harsh in just that specific regard defensively?
You're not being harsh. I think that some of the things that Cooper does at a reasonable level on the ball is, I think that like he always is active and engaged and uses his like arms and hands to stay as big as possible.
Yeah.
I think that smaller players can out leverage him from time to time, where like they can just get lower and like kind of get by him a little bit. the thing that he has is he has like crazy recovery ability. I think because he has that leaping ability and the length to be able to go and just like contest from behind and kind of cause problems for you that way. But yeah, Cooper is nowhere near like the Amen Thompson, Herb Jones, like nowhere in that ballpark in terms of on ball defense and that kind of player. But he is a very real off ball defender who anticipates plays really well, makes plays at a super high level, gets home on a lot of plays, but is always available rotationally. I think he maps the court super well defensively. We talked about that on the last show as something that is kind of underrated for a lot of prospects. Yeah, I am just a really, really massive fan.
Yeah, no, really good player. It's just like whenever I'm evaluating him at this level, like I say, face of the franchise, that type of stuff, it was like, okay, I think the defense is really exciting. He's going to be a positive defender. Like, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but it was just like, okay, maybe there's a little bit there that won't be like elite level, but the offense was what sold me this year. He was so much further along as a shot maker and all of the other stuff. I knew he'd be a good cutter, those things, the shot making, and then the ability to create was really impressive.
From Jason Williams, is there any scenario Toronto would trade that pick if they got it? If so, what it would take? No, nobody's trading Cooper Flag. Just straight up. Like I do not
question. Would you trade it for Giannis if you're Toronto?
I would not. No.
Okay. Do you think Masai would trade it?
It's a more interesting question. I think probably still no, but I'm not 100% sold on that, I guess, because I don't know. Look, my issue with Toronto is like I don't know what their plan has been for a while. I know the overall outlines of their plan is to like stay competitive while taking swings on distressed assets and trying to lift them up and then continue to build up like step by step by step. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how successful that's been to this point personally.
Sure.
In terms of the fit with Toronto, just real quick before we move on, like Emmanuel Quickly, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick is still on that roster.
Brandon Ingram
is there now, obviously. Jakob Poeltl. Like, there are a number of players that kind of make this a funkier fit to me. But end of the day, I think that you take Cooper and you figure it out. You probably just move RJ Barrett. You move whoever you have to move to fit him in and be able to play him in the way that he should be played and should be utilized.
Agreed.
Okay. Number 2.
It's actually worked out okay for this team.
Yeah, goes to the Utah Jazz. The number 2 overall pick in this draft is Dylan Harper to me.
Yep.
6'5", 6'6", somewhere in that ballpark. Averaged 19 points, 4 assists, 4.5 rebounds. Shot 48% from the field. Just absolutely is like a downhill force as a driver. Really can consistently get into the lane. I think that what stands out for me with Harper is he has a very polished game. Like, his footwork is unbelievable for a teenager to me.
Yeah.
Very creative mindset with his handle, sets up defenders really well, has like a bevy of different kind of moves and counters off the bounce, stays balanced off of 2 feet when he plays so that he's able to get to his pull up when he needs to, but also can kind of counter whatever a defender is trying to present to him. Loves to use hang dribbles and hesitations, loves to get to crossovers and behind the back dribbles, but can string all of those moves together well. Consistently think he plays at like a sharp pace that is hard to stay in front of. He's not like wildly shifty, but he's like a guy that can maneuver through tight creases in a way that is really, interesting. He has that tremendous balance that allows him to be able to navigate tight creases, not at like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander level, but like probably at the level just below that, I think, in terms of how he navigates those tight areas. Effective with his pace and ball screens. I love his gathers to get all the way to the rim. The Euro steps around rim protectors, the spin moves to get away from his man. His footwork, again, that's what it comes down to for me. The footwork is just unbelievable. The jumper to me is like a real question.
Yeah.
The finishing ability I think is great, but the jumper is a real question to me. For what it's worth, I've seen him work out this year, and that's what he's working on. He is really working on a lot of like on ball pull up things to try, weighs in off of screens, weighs in, off of, step ups and, screen rescreen kind of situations in order to try and, get really comfortable with his pull up game. So yeah, I think that Dylan Harper is just the very clear number 2 overall pick to me. I think that this is the best guard in the class.
Yep, big physical guard. A lot of my notes are very similar. That's why I was kind of smiling and laughing, because I have the body control, the balance. You kind of commented about how he's able to like slide through. I put slide through secondary defenders, and he has that ability to do so. Like I saw the exact same type of thing, because he doesn't have like elite level explosion and twitch, but he has the physicality, he has the body control, the balance, the footwork. He can use ball screens. He sets them up. Patient, snakes them, gels them, suddenness and change of direction, all of that. I think same things on the jumper. Defensively, I think eventually he's at least a neutral defender and potentially a positive defender. It may not be great early. I think that he definitely has potential to do that. He has off-ball communication and awareness. Like he gets ball watchy at times, but other than that, I really like his off-the-ball defense. On ball, I think he has the potential to, like I said, to be there. I want to ask you about the passing. It's funny you brought up SGA, and I'm not comparing Dylan Harper to SGA. But in my notes, I was like, is that kind of the idea, the archetype of the primary creator, where it's not like SGA is a bad passer, but he's not like, that's not the first thing you think of with SGA. Is Dylan Harper more of like this scoring primary creator that averages 6 or 7 assists? Like, do you have any worries about his passing or anything like that? I hope my question is making sense here.
No, it is. I think he's probably more, literally in the notes I have for the draft guide, it's unlikely to average 8 or 9 assists per game in the NBA due to his scoring mentality, but could easily get into the 6 or 7 range in the right situation. I think he passes really well off of a live dribble. He has huge hands, seems to have great understanding of backline defenders, will throw cross corner kickouts with like real zip, can throw lobs with touch, can throw them from low angles or can throw them from overhead angles. Good at drawing defenders toward him, and then has a plan to be able to get the ball to his teammates as well. Consistently a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio on the AAU circuit, was similar at Rutgers this year. I have no real beef with him in terms of a passer. He's definitely more of a scoring mentality player, but I do think that there's a lot of passing ability there. And just for the record, on the finishing around the rim as well, which I'm a big fan of, took like 4 attempts at the rim in terms of layups per game this year, made them at 63%.
Nice.
That's like a bonkers number on layups, particularly like removing dunks from the equation when you get there. If you're at like 63%, especially on a Rutgers team that had like no spacing around him, it's a pretty impressive skill set to be able to have.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, no, I am a big Dylan Harper fan. And for Utah, look, like, I know there's excitement around Isaiah Collier, but like Isaiah Collier to me is like a great backup point guard because he still hasn't found a way to score yet in the NBA. Maybe that'll change into the future. Who knows? Keontae George is just not a guy to me that you worry about when you're drafting at number 2 overall. To me, Dylan Harper is like the exact player that they need outside of Cooper Flagg. Like this is a home run across the board.
I agree 100%. Like there's nobody in that backcourt right now, either long-term, or short-term that keeps you from taking him. Like we complained about this all year. If Isaiah Collier and Keontae George become your backup guards in some capacity, however you guys could play those guys together, great. That's a really good spot for both of those guys, in my opinion. They don't factor into this decision whatsoever for me.
Yep. Okay, number 3. The Philadelphia 76ers.
So
I'm team to get number 3.
Listen, this is where I want to be clear is like those two are no brainers for me. The next 2 guys on my board are the next 2 guys I would kind of keep there, but I'm like not dead set. If I'm going to take Ace Bailey here, and if you would say any number of a few other names, I'm cool with it. He stayed number 3 for me. Love his height and length. Definitely he's going to have to add some strength. He has that ability to shoot over people. That's going to have to be the elite skill for him. The passing is interesting. I want to get your thought on that because people will immediately point to the negative assist to turnover ratio, But one of the games I watched, he made like 4 really good passing reads, and not a single one became an assist because the people on the other end of it didn't make a shot. And it happened the entire second game I watched as well. So just something I'm not saying he's a great passer, Sam. I'm just saying it's something to keep in mind. The off the bounce is what I really want to talk about, because we mentioned this with Jabari Smith Jr. just the other day, and it actually kind of freaked me out with Ace Bailey, like seeing how Jabari was really struggling because he couldn't put it on the deck. And we've said this about Ace going back to even this summer. Never gets to the rim in the half court. And then the defense, I'm intrigued by. When he's engaged, he can get in the stance. He'll give effort. He can, be a little bit disruptive with blocks and steals and some of that stuff. The rebounding numbers stand out. Off the ball defense can be really rough at times. I'm probably higher on what the defensive impact could be, just because of the disruption and playmaking. Listen, I have him number 3, but I'm not dead set. And I'm not like overly juiced if I'm at number 3 and this is what I end up with, but it's still a 6'9" wing that may have two-way potential if the defense really rounds out.
So, okay, the first thing I want to talk about here before we get into Ace. So you're going to take Ace and not consider a trade here, right?
I would consider a trade. Like, I always struggle with those. So like if we're open to trades, if you're going to have to be the one to initiate them. My mind doesn't work that way well enough. So I'm always willing to talk through one.
Maybe we will just give Ace, because I don't want to slow down the mock and demolish this thing in any way, shape, or form. But I think that if Philly got number 3, it would very much be on the market.
Sure.
And they would look at different avenues and options available. And I think it would be to look for veteran help that could potentially help Joel, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, Quentin Grimes, etc., all those guys that they now currently have. Let's talk about Ace. I'll put him up on the screen here because that is going to be the pick, because that's the pick you've made. I think this is probably the best spot for Ace in the lottery if you made me pick one. Because what I worry about with Ace is him going somewhere and having to be the primary creator from the jump, right? I do not think he can do that right now.
I agree.
His handle is not tight enough. His shot selection is not good enough. His vision and ability to process the way that help defenses are playing him is not good enough right now. But he is 18 years old, averaged as a 6'9", 6'10" wing, 17.6 points, 7.2 rebounds, 1.3 assists. The tools are pretty immense, I think. And should we just mention briefly, the key skill here is the pull-up game, right? His handle is bonkers in terms of being able to get backward to be able to create a shot that way, right? The issue with the handle is it's too loose and too high, and he doesn't play with enough bend. So when he goes forward, he can't get anywhere. But in terms of getting to a step back, he has a lot of really high level footwork moves in crossovers and between the legs things to be able to get to where he has to go when he's trying to get to the step back and get to the pull up game. He'll hit hang dribbles into quick crossovers. Will catch defenders napping, just by pulling from 3. Has long strides as well to be able to get separation on those step back shots. Very high release and footwork, very high release, good footwork, excellent mid-post shot creation weapon. Really, really impactful in that way. But I don't know if he's a good enough shooter to actually be able to do that right now, right? In the NBA. I don't think he can live off of that in the NBA right now. So the question is, what can he live off of? Well, he can live off of being a catch and shoot guy. He hit 39% of his catch and shoot threes this year.
Yep.
It's a pretty strong number, right? He does a good job getting on balance, gets his feet underneath him off the catch. That's the role I would want for him early on. I would want him to be able to be a catch and shoot guy who attacks advantage situations early and then can build off of that while teams try to work to access some of the bend, some of the tightening the handle, getting it lower to the ground. Because that's the issue right now. Like, he plays with no bend whatsoever and can't really actually navigate those tight areas on the interior. So Ace is a really interesting one. And like, we should talk about, the shot selection is an issue. I don't think he plays with any force or physical strength, really. He's an entirely finesse player on the perimeter in terms of offense. Handles quite loose, really struggles to get paint touches. 7.9 assist ratio this year. We'll talk about the passing because you wanted to do that. Let's see here. 1 to 2 assist turnover ratio. The issue for me is he just doesn't collapse defenses by getting to the paint. Right.
Fair. Yeah. 100%.
That is the main problem here.
I think I had the synergy numbers from the end of the year. He only had 38 attempts at the rim in the half court all season long. That just kind of speaks to the ability to put pressure on the rim, and he was 42% at the rim. I assume I almost always take away dunks in that number. That's just half court. So that doesn't include transition, but those are the numbers I like to see. I don't want to see if you can get out in transition. That's a whole different skill set. I want to see if you can pressure the paint in the half court, and it's definitely not something he does well.
Yeah. The final thing I'll note is just there are moments on defense for him where he looks awesome, where he's
Yes.
switchable and active and can cover ground and do things. I did not think he was engaged enough on defense this year. There were just too many times where he seemed nonplussed and didn't care about his off-ball responsibilities. He was would sometimes go for steals and get too aggressive. Was very much a ball watcher though, who will lose track of his man and will try to make things happen on the ball and then get back cut. And then on the ball, just didn't offer resistance as much as I would like to see. The flashes were there. I thought he was switchable at times when he was hyper engaged, but if someone got an angle on him, I thought sometimes he'd kind of give up in recovery. And just kind of stop, unfortunately. And I didn't think again, court mapping wise, right? I didn't think his court mapping was amazing in terms of where he needed to rotate to in scramble situations.
I agree. Yeah, I had get lost. Ball watching doesn't see rotations, and that's what you're talking about with mapping the court. You have to. It's too late if you see it after the pass is made. You have to anticipate what is happening here, who's going to be the open man, what's the one more pass, or what's the swing, where is that going, and you have to be going there right away. Now, if he ever does figure that out, he has the length to be impactful there. And like you said, there are times when it can be solid. It just was, too far, few and far between.
Yeah. And the reason this works for me with the Sixers is they have a real backcourt moving forward. They have Maxey, they have Quentin Grimes, who I would assume they're going to try and keep. They have Kelly Oubre. They have,
McCain.
Paul George, obviously, as well. They have Jared McCain, who they just drafted last year and was really, really good whenever he played in the early portion of the season. What they need more than anything is size on the on the wings and next to Paul George on the interior to me. That's the one that really tracks for me in terms of the idea.
Yep.
So Ace Bailey, number 3, to the Philadelphia 76ers. Number 4, the Washington Wizards. I am up. I am going to go. Oh boy. I think I am just going to go VJ Edgecombe here, but I'm going to think through it a little bit. It's not the easiest spot for me because I do like Bub Carrington quite a bit. I actually think the Bub and VJ kind of work, but they're both quite skinny, and it worries me that having that duo as your perimeter defenders that could be a problem. But VJ is quite good on defense already. He's very strong, despite being 6 foot. I don't know. We're gonna get a measurement this week or next week. 6 foot something. Let's go with somewhere between 6'3" and 6'5". Let's go with for VJ. I think that it would be fine being able to play him with Bub Carrington as kind of your backcourt player of the future, long term, your duo. I think they blend off of one another well. I like Bub on the ball quite a bit. I think his ability to play in ball screens, get to pull up situations is really valuable. I think VJ will likely shoot it at some point, and we can kind of talk through that as we go forward. I think he is like pretty effective as a catch and shoot player whenever he doesn't have to do too much on the ball. Yeah, I mean, like VJ is just a super nuclear athlete who plays hard all the time. The intel is absolutely fantastic on the kid. You know, a kid that you can really buy into, continuing to get better and better and better. And that's what we're going with here. I don't. VJ's athleticism, I think, is often like somewhat overstated. Like, I think people will bring him up as like he'll enter the NBA as like a top 1% athlete.
No,
I don't think it's that. I think it's like he enters as like a top 5% athlete in the NBA, and there is like real marginal downgrade as you get down there a little bit. But just like so twitchy, super explosive, great first step, stronger than his frame looks, like absorbs contact through his chest with no problems, plays hard all the time, has a great motor. You know, right now I do like him best on defense. I think he is awesome in terms of his anticipation, constantly like poking at the ball, takes bumps well through his chest, beats guys to the spot all the time. And then off the ball, just anticipates everything, flies around and wreaks havoc. You know, creates real transition chances by getting into passing lanes, average 2.2 steals per game, blocked 0.7 shots per game as well. Really effective as like a weak side, you know, rim rotation guy, despite being 6'3" to 6'5", somewhere in that ballpark. Just an awesome defender, I think, and really does a good job of turning defense into offense.
Yeah, I think he's got that real disruption on the defensive end. I think he's going to be a valuable starting role player. Like, I don't know that I see VJ ever being like a top 3 option on a team in the way that I think Ace can. I have some questions about the all-around offensive game, but I think he makes sense with Washington because Washington was number 4 in pace in the NBA last year. They want to play fast, and VJ is going to be best in transition, or I shouldn't say best. He's going to be really good in transition. That's something he can do, and he can start transition with the defensive disruption and all of those types of things. They were also 10th in three-point attempt rate, but 29th in three-point percentage. So you add a guy that can knock down shots. I will say I'm a little nervous, and I think this is something a player can improve on. He has a really low dip, and it takes him a long time to get his catch and shoot off. He is going to have to improve that, I think, sooner rather than later. If I was him, that's something I'd be working on right now. I'm sure it is. And whoever drafts him, I think that's one of the first things they should work on with him is just, hey, you're not 6'8" like Ace Bailey or 6'9". You have to get this shot off quicker in the NBA, or guys are going to close out to you and recover and take this shot away or block it into the stands. I do like how he uses screens in terms of setting them up, getting open, has some nuance with that. I came away a little bit more impressed with his passing. I thought it was fine, a little bit better than I thought. I thought it was maybe a negative passer, but I think he's an advantage exploiter. He can knock down a catch and shoot. I think he can attack a closeout in a straight line, can make the necessary passes, and then, you know, again, getting out in transition and all of that. And then you talked about all of the defensive stuff as well. I think he has real disruption. I might be a little bit lower on like just his point of attack, solid defense, but I think he's going to be an impactful defender for sure. And he plays really hard.
Yeah. So with the shooting, VJ was, I think, 36.3% off the catch this year. What is this? Well over 40% on over 200 attempts that we have tracked per synergy at Long Island Lutheran off the catch. So, like, I think he'll shoot it. Like, I'm not that worried about it at the end of the day. Like, made shots off of screens this year to a decent level. I think he's like a real off-ball threat. The other thing about the shooting is like it plays well into his cutting game. He is a monster cutter. Like he is able to like get backdoor and like sky for the ball and like fly high in a really effective way. In terms of like the on-ball stuff, he is not a point guard. Like, no. I don't think he's ever going to have a good enough handle to be like a true lead option. Like he's not a guy that like strings together like multiple moves to get somewhere, right? He'll hit like a quick crossover. He'll hit like a hang dribble and like into a crossover, but it's not like, you know, he's tightened up and like really getting where he has to go, right? I thought particularly he really struggled with teams that would blitz his ball screen. You know, I wouldn't feel great about him dealing with like, you know, super high level ball pressure. I thought that both Houston and St. John's really like caused him problems this year, because they both like went heavily at his ball screen and like just made him be a playmaker. And it felt like he wasn't super comfortable. And the big problem with that is that I don't think his left hand is very good right now. Like he doesn't feel very comfortable putting the ball into his left hand and being able to like drive to get to a spot. Did have some stuff late in the year where like I thought I saw some improvement with like comfort going up to like try and finish with the left occasionally. But yeah, like I wasn't I was a bit concerned about the left hand. And then additionally, he's really not a great finisher.
Yeah.
That's a significant issue. Like the gathers are a problem right now. Needs to really work on like the slow step, like decel footwork, to get into like Euro steps and, you know, things like that. The body control stuff is where like athletically this breaks down in terms of him being like not Anthony Edwards, not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like not that kind of balanced athlete.
Yep, I agree. I agree with that. You know, it's just he's very athletic, but it's more in the open space. Like he has these crazy transition chase down blocks that like are really, you know, shows off the vertical pop. It's not the same level of body control when he has the ball in his hands in the half court and he's trying to navigate defenders and explode to the rim and, you know, manipulate the ball, manipulate his body and finish those. So, I think he's going to be a really good NBA starter. Like I think VJ Exum is going to be an NBA starter for a lot of years. I think it's like the fourth best player in your starting lineup or the fifth or something like that, but I still like him. So,
and look, again, like right now, I think that's the projection.
Sure.
The big thing that I really can't emphasize enough to people is like you talk to folks around the league about VJ and you talk to the Baylor staff and you talk to people like around the situation, and they will tell you like the work ethic is out of this world, like out of control. Like he is a crazy, crazy worker and like has a real chance to hit a level where like his athleticism like allows him to take a serious leap. Right.
Yes.
So that's part of the bet here, is that VJ can be that kind of player with improvement. But like, I think the floor here is like fairly high because of the athleticism, the motor, how high of a level character kid he is, plus the ability to play off the ball in a really high level manner, plus the defense. The hope is that that allows him to improve on the ball and give you some upside moving forward.
Yep.
Okay. Number 5, this is going to be the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah. So I'm automatically between two guys right here. I think whichever one I don't take, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I don't know what your board looks like. So I'm between Trey Johnson and Con Knipple right here. Yeah. I think that two guard, that off ball guard position, I think either would work. I like the idea of Knipple just in terms of being a little bit more all around solid, the team defense. I know we can knock down shots, all of that. I've really come around on Trey Johnson, Sam. In some ways, I think this may be a good fit for Trey because he walks in there as the third option. And it's not like, hey, I'm going to be the primary guy. Like he'll walk in, it's like LaMelo's going to play with the ball in his hands. Brandon Miller is the number 2 guy. And I can play off the ball, knock down shots, and kind of grow into this role. And in some ways, I like that because I think Trey Johnson is going to be successful in the NBA if he will accept that role. So to me, it's like, do I want to take a chance on that? Or do I want to just like, I feel really solid that Con Knipple is going to be a really good starter in the NBA. So like that's what I'm kind of going back and forth with right now. Let's go Knipple, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see. So Con Knipple, just advantage exploiter and team defender. I think he's a tremendous fifth starter. Is there more upside is my question. And so like that's what I would be interested to see. Strong build that lets him hold his line on both ends. Not a ton of vertical pop. Like it's real scary in regards to that. The shooting is the elite skill, the superpower. I think he understands off-ball relocation, keeps good spacing, has balance to be good off movement. And then I think the off the dribble is interesting. We saw him in the game that Cooper Flag went down, him operate with the ball in his hands. We saw some stuff like he operates a ball screen with Malawach and eye manipulation to hold the tag defender and then throw the lob. Or it's really interesting. I think the off ball defense locked in, engaged. He's a great communicator, gonna weak side rotate, box out, all of those things. The on ball defense is scary. And that's one where maybe this doesn't end up being a great fit, but I don't know that Trey's taking primary defensive perimeter matchups either. So I will take what I feel like is just a very solid Con Knipple here to insert into this young team of the Hornets with Ball, Miller, and Williams, and go with that.
Look, I actually kind of like this fit a little bit more with Brandon Miller than Trey, even though I think Trey has like a little bit higher of a ceiling than Con.
I agree.
Because I think that Con's like strength level and like physicality allows you to still have that flexibility to play Brandon Miller at the 2 if you want to, and then have Con be like the 3 that guards threes consistently, right? Look, Con was just a better player than Trey Johnson this year. Like, I'm sorry. It's just kind of the reality. Now, you could say that Con was in a drastically better situation, and I would 100% agree with you. And I think that's probably a huge reason why. And I'm not sure which one I'm going to have higher on my board at the end of the day. Right now, I have Con at 3 or 4 is the thing. And why is that the case? So extremely competitive motor, measured at, we'll see at the combine, right? Like, I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere between 6'5" and 6'6". Gonna have no problems playing with multiple guards on the court next to him. Extremely competitive, like exceptionally competitive streak. Another like very serious individual this year at Duke that like cared deeply about winning and losing. Doesn't really take anything off the table to me, like dribble, pass, shoot, defend. Like, that's the thing. Like, he was the sneaky thing about Con that I think went like way underrated this year is he was a really, really good defender. I thought this season, extremely competitive, good anticipation and awareness off the ball. I think he has really good hand-eye coordination, constantly in the right spots, very high engagement level, communicates super well, fights around screens fairly well. And then he's really strong through his torso and chest, in a way that like allows him to be competitive. I don't think he's going to be like anywhere near an all defense guy, but like, I think he is like competitive and tough. Right?
It's kind of like what we talked. He hopefully will be better. He needs to be if he's going to go. Remember what we talked about with Sam Merrill recently, right? And the way he like holds up defensively, just because like if he gets his chest on you, then that's how. And Knipple's probably bigger than Sam Merrill, right?
Yeah, I would guess that he's probably a couple inches taller, and he's definitely thicker, like through his chest.
Yeah, and like I think in that way, Knipple will like where he's going to get. This is why I think your comment about Brandon Miller is really interesting, because I have it here. I think he's better defending up like to a 3 on the opposing team, because then the twitch and the explosion and like the creative ball handling usually in general isn't as much. And so between the competitiveness, between the strength, the team defense, all of that, like for the record, I actually have Trey a spot or 2 higher than Con. I just think for this particular situation, I feel better about putting Con into that situation with the Charlotte Hornets.
And I think it's kind of hard to overemphasize the level of touch here. 90% from the line, 40% off the catch from 3, made 50% of his mid-range pull-ups, like unbelievable shot mechanics. Like, they're what you would teach in terms of shot mechanics. Like, they're beautiful. Like, one motion shot, clean release, great rotation on the ball, high follow through, great base. Like, the balance is elite through the shot. Drill shots off of movement, had a 56 shooting percentage off of screens this season. Smart at relocating and moving without the ball. I think he projects as like a real high volume 3-point shooter, but then like you said, like, don't sleep on the ball skills, like the on ball skills.
That's the swing thing here, right? Like we got a taste of it at times, Sam, where maybe he could operate a second side ball screen and do some things like that.
I think that the sneaky thing here is he just plays with really good bend as much as anything. Like, he really plays lower to the ground, which allows him to be successful in those manners. He'll hit a quick reversal. He makes quick decisions. I thought he had a great connection with Maluach as a roller this year. You kind of brought that up.
Yep.
Just drilled him for lobs, like, nice soft passes up to Maluach. We'll talk about his hands at the end of this, at some point whenever we draft Maluach. I have some questions there. Like, never makes bad decisions. Also with Con, like there's like no mistakes. There's no selfishness to his game. I am a big fan of Knipple. And look, like the athletic concerns are obviously there, right?
Yep.
Like he might be really limited by the fact that he has no explosiveness. Like Austin Reeves, like, is so much more flexible than him, for instance, right? Like the way that he can slither around the paint. You know, like made 54% of the shots at the rim this year. Only had one half court dunk. Doesn't have like a ton of floater game yet, but I would be surprised if that's, the case moving forward, given the touch level. We'll also just like flag as a shooter. I'm sure this is just bizarre and like low sample, but like did only make 6 of his 30 attempts from 25 feet and beyond this year, which is like strange. I'm sure it's just like an adjustment thing. But that did at least like pop up for me. And look, like defensively, the key is foot speed. He just needs to not get attacked. That's the reality here. Just needs to not be attacked.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, honestly, this is kind of an interesting thing to say. Like 6'5" Joe Ingles, like that honestly might be the best comp I've heard for Con.
Interesting.
Is like, I think he's a little bit bigger than 6'5" in shoes. I think Joe's probably like 6'8" or so in shoes, or 6'9" in shoes, 6'8" without shoes. I think Con's probably like a couple inches shorter than that. But like he was listed at 6'7" this year. So I'm interested to see where Con ends up on the measurement scale. So
sure.
I'm definitely a Con Knipple guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm up, and we're going to start zooming a little bit quicker now that we're through 5. But before we do that, we have got to hit a quick ad break. Shout out to our good friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money, sports, action. With over 10 million members and billions in awarded winnings, there's just no better place that you're going to be able to turn your sports knowledge into cash. You pick more or less with at least 2 players for a shot to win 2,000 times your cash, and you can run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can cash in during the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup. Whether it's points, rebounds, assists, take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. And you can turn those playoff hot takes into tickets to basketball's championship series. Starting with the play-in round, every lineup you make on Prize Picks will enter you in the Takes 2 ticket sweepstakes, which could get you a +1 VIP trip to the Ship. Plus, on Tuesdays, they have, they're going to discount several projections on the board, usually by 15 to 25%. Obviously, today is Tuesday, so you can get your picks in if you're listening to this live. Fridays, they do Flex Friday, which you can opt into and tap the checkbox in your lineup builder to be eligible for the protected play. Choose squares from any game on the board. If your lineup does not win, you get your net losses back in promo funds to your promo limit as soon as the lineup settles. Look, Prize Picks is the best. We love them here. They're a longtime sponsor of the show. We can't emphasize enough. Go play on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Second sponsor today, LinkedIn. Shout out the good folks over at LinkedIn. As a small business owner, man, do I know that you don't have the luxury of clocking out early. Your business is on your mind 24/7. So when you're hiring, you need a partner that grinds just as hard as you do. That hiring partner is LinkedIn Jobs. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free. Share it with your network and get qualified candidates that you can manage all in one place. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And at the end of the day, the most important thing to small businesses, and I can attest to this 100%, is the quality of your candidates. And with LinkedIn, you're absolutely going to be able to feel confident that you're getting the best candidates. 72% of small businesses using LinkedIn say that LinkedIn helps them find quality candidates. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/game. That's linkedin.com/game to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, Bryce, let's get to number 6. This is the New Orleans Pelicans. This is just kind of an easy pick to me. I know that they're loaded on the wing, but they have decisions to make with Zion. They have decisions to make with a few different situations on their roster this year. Obviously, Joe Dumars is now in the mix, making decisions there. Troy Weaver, I guess, is heavily involved as well. I would imagine Troy Weaver is probably involved on the player eval side because that is what he's kind of done in general. To me, this is just Trey Johnson.
Yep.
Like this is a simple pick. I got to see Trey Johnson work out a couple weeks ago. Was super impressive. Was so impressive to me as a just human being that came in with a level of seriousness and like a desire to get better. Like there was just this level of intensity about him where he went through this workout like 100% the whole way. Right. And I just you don't see that often when you go to these workouts where there's like a total focus on everything. And I am just a huge fan of that piece of Trey Johnson. Was one of the most impressive shooting workouts I've ever seen from a teenager, just point blank. And look, we know Trey Johnson can shoot at an exceptionally high level. That's the whole point of selecting Trey Johnson. He averaged 20 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists this year. Look, some of the decision-making on the court could be a little bit frustrating in terms of shot selection. We'll see where that goes. I think is the reality of the Trey Johnson experience. Like, do you get him out of that Texas situation where it was just a total disaster, archaic offense that rarely ran him off of screens and put him into an NBA situation? You run him off of screens and everything just flows easy because you have to really close out on him hard. That allows him to get to his left and be able to, drive to the basket, or it allows him to get to his right and play off the rim, play and get to the rim in that effective way. Like, to me, there's a real chance that this comes together for Trey Johnson in the NBA, getting around like a real offensive system. I'll say this, like someone asked, like, how tall is he? I'm going to say like he comes in right around like, 6'5", 6'6" without shoes, somewhere between that in that ballpark. I was super impressed with Trey in terms of seeing him in that workout. I think he's going to keep getting better and keep improving. My thing is, where does the defense get to? And then I thought he was like okay as a passer by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Like I actually thought that like he made pretty decent reads. This is not Cam Johnson. The shot selection was terrible. Like that's the reality. It's okay. It was really, really bad this year at Texas, but how much of that is the Texas system versus him? It's difficult to say right now, but like, I think if you get him in an NBA scheme where he is running off of actions, taking jumpers, being able to use the threat of his gravity, like I think he comes in and takes 7 threes per game, like within the first 2 years of his career. He is like that level shooter in terms of being able to do it at volume. He is just like nowhere near to me Cam Thomas, which is what I thought he might be early in the year. Really, really impressive player to me.
Yeah, it's funny. The first part of my notes on my watch here at the end of the year was I don't think I was giving him enough credit for how tall he is and how long, his length, all of that. His measurements will be interesting. I'll keep it simple here. I agree with pretty much everything you said there, including the passing part. I think he has the passing talent, just has to have the decision making, keeping the game simple. I think at times he let his kind of emotions get going with that. This is real easy for me with Trey Johnson. If he accepts the role that I think he can thrive in the NBA, he is going to be a huge success. My worry is he willing to accept that role? And I don't know Trey Johnson. All I'm judging is what I saw in college, some of the body language things. I've talked to other people about this, got people in the NBA who sent me the
NBA teams are worried about that. That's not unfair to say.
Okay, because like I said, I've had NBA people send me the exact same clips that I saw and wrote down in my notes where some of the body language when he didn't get a pass or whatever. And I'm sitting in a couch. I've never talked to him. He may be a great kid that just is a little bit immature because of his age, handling some of the emotions of this stuff.
For what it's worth, like I wouldn't say he's immature. Like having talked to him a little bit, like I'm not saying like I had like long conversations with him or anything. But like, I don't think there's that to him at all. Like, I think
Okay.
he actually is like quite mature. I think that he is somebody who is just like very serious
Sure.
and like really cares about basketball and like really cares about like trying to like be the best basketball player he can be. Like, I think there are times where at Texas this year that didn't necessarily always show itself in terms of like team winning basketball, right?
Yep.
But you know, he's a teenager. Like, that stuff gets figured out to me, right?
And,
Like,
and I guess that's what I meant with immature, I guess, is like he's younger. And so maybe not understanding what the body language looks like or whatever, or handling some of the things the right way. Essentially, my point was it's something he can grow from and get better with. And so, again, that's what it comes down to for me, because I believe in the talent the more I watched. And so if he can handle like, hey, I'm the third option after Zion and Trey Murphy, and I just get to shoot 8 threes a game off relocation, screens, etc. I think he will thrive. If he wants to go straight ISO ball and those things, I worry a little bit because I don't know that he's going to create a great shot diet with the ball in his hands as a self-creator. But a second side, like exploiting those situations, I think he could be tremendous.
Yeah, I agree. I will also say this: like, I don't think Trey Johnson was a positive defender this year.
I agree with that.
I don't think he like hurt Texas a crazy amount either. Like, I think he knew where he was supposed to be. Like, you would see him like rotate, like he would help the helper, he would get to his spots in scramble situations. There just wasn't any level of like disruption to me on the ball. Like, there just wasn't any like level of, okay, I have to like go and like really get in this guy's shit. You know what I mean? Like, the cup, like what I've been saying about him is it reminds me a lot of like a taller Malik Beasley with like a little bit more passing ability.
Sure.
Right. And if you gave me that player, I think that player probably averages 20 points per game multiple times in his career.
That could be, that player is a third, based off what I saw Malik Beasley on a competent basketball team this year. That level of Malik Beasley supercharged could be the third scoring option on your team.
Yes. And that's what I think it is. And I think he's going to be awesome. I think he can be like a really, really high level player.
Yep. I like it.
Okay. Number 7, Bryce, you are up with the Brooklyn Nets. And I swear we probably do need to move a little bit faster on something.
Sure. Yep. We don't want to go 3-hour mock draft. To me, it comes down to 2 names, Kasparis or Jeremiah Fears. I'm going to go Kasparis. With the caveat, like, I'm a little bit nervous with him.
Yeah.
I wonder if he ends up just being a high-level third guard for a team where he comes in, he can play a little bit on and off the ball. I love the physical build. The catch-and-shoot numbers actually weren't that bad from 3. Like, I think he'll be able to do that a little bit. And then I think it was, no, both dribble jumpers were under 40%. But gets to the rim, impactful rebounder. So he's going to be able to hold his line on drives. Turnovers terrify me. And this is like my issue with like even this scenario is like, if you put him in that situation, what's it going to look like? But it's the same thing with Fears. Like, I honestly thought about like just huge swing for the Nets here, right? Like, are they the team that can just swing with Jeremiah Fears here? But I'm also like, I don't know if that's what's best for Jeremiah Fears, is going in and running the show right away. So it makes me a little bit nervous. The defense is a mixed bag. I don't love it, but I will go Kasparis here. And I do think this is a need for the Nets in terms of one of those 2 guys. I think has to be if they're on the board. So
yeah. So what I love most about Yakashonis is like the passing and playmaking, right? Like, just has this like innate understanding of where help defenders are coming from and where they're going. Consistently can manipulate defenders, throws the ball with velocity with either hand as a live dribble passer, places the ball into tight windows consistently as a passer, just sees angles in like a really creative way. Throws like overhand wraparounds to hit the pop man. He'll throw like wraparound passes around defenders on the interior. He's a great lob thrower, I think, as well. Excels looking out to find kickouts, like has no issues hitting cross corner kickouts in a timely manner. Will pass guys open pretty consistently as a cutter or on kickouts. Like look away passes to get defenders going one direction or another. I think he's like truly one of the 2 or 3 best passers in this class, like for sure. The shooting is real. Like I think that, there are real building blocks for him to be a good shooter. It's just that he's not quite there yet.
Yep.
33% of his pull-up threes this year, which he was taking like 3 per game. Very difficult shots for the most part, just because he doesn't separate. And that's at the end of the day, like the biggest question is like, can he consistently separate as an on-ball player to take advantage of the passing consistently? Even with ball screens, can he like maintain the advantage consistently or not?
Yep. Yeah. No, yeah. Listen, so, I was really high on him at one point. I've soured just a little bit. I still think he's going to be a good player. I just still wonder if the ultimate role ends up being a little bit more combo-y if the catch and shoot numbers are good. So,
right. And the big thing here for me too is like he's like 6'5", 6'6". Like he's a big dude.
Yes.
And he's going to be able to play both on and off the ball, like at a really high level. Some of the other smaller guards that I think you and I are a little bit lower on, like they will not be able to play off the ball. I think Kasparov's floor is just a little bit higher because of the feel for the game and because of the ability to play both on and off the ball.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Okay. Someone brought up Pods in the comments. That I don't mind that. That's like an interesting name for me in regard to Kasparov's.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I am up with the Spurs at number 8. And I'm going to take Carter Bryant here.
This is yes. Yep.
This is where we might be going like slightly off the board, but it's not going to look off the board by the time the draft rolls around. Carter Bryant is a stud, guys. He is an absolute stud. I know that this year he averaged like 6 points per game or whatever, but you go through and you watch the tape. This is a joke. Like he is a monster on the defensive end. Like plays with a real motor and like competitive, like meanness, honestly. Like he really tries to get into guys' shit. Was super switchy at Arizona, like guarded ones pretty regularly, had no issues guarding 2 through 4s. Like they'd put him at the point of attack and he had no problems there. Slides his feet incredibly well. Really aggressive and crawls into the space, actively tries to make life miserable as an on-ball defender. And then if he does get beat, he does an amazing job of like staying on the guy's hip and forcing him into help. He's like physical on the ball. Like if you go into his chest, you're going nowhere because he's like 225 pounds, walls up super well, super big, super long, so that you can like, whenever someone tries to pull up, like after they get stopped, he's just immediately contesting and staying in that space. Does an amazing job fighting over the top of screens. Terrific defensive playmaker. Very active hands. Rotates around defensively at a super high level. Real shot blocker on the ball. Like will contest shots at a super high level. Gets as big as possible off the ball if he sees a pass coming his way to try and get a steal. I think that he shoots the ball well. 37% on threes this year, only taking 3 per game. Clean release on the jumper, 1-2 step or off the hop, like no problems there. Doesn't have the quickest release in the world, but has a really high release point. Can like veer into being like a left line in terms of like where like he's bringing the ball up like from the left side of his body, and then we'll kind of get into the mostly it's a middle of the line, but can like get a little bit wavery there. I think he's so good. He hit 73% of his shots in half court settings this year around the basket, picked his spots super, super well in terms of when to drive. I mean, this is just an awesome player to me. This is like the exact kind of guy I want if I'm trying to build a winning basketball team around Wemby.
Yeah, listen, it took me a while to get there with Carter Bryant, and I am in this same area. I have him 9 on my board, so right in this range. And whenever I did, like, it was just a very, like, basic, okay, who do I think's still going to be around whenever we do this? And Carter Bryant was very high up there with the Spurs. I think they were the first team I put him there because I thought he made a ton of sense. This is a team that they need wing play and they need shooting. I think he does both. But as you mentioned, I think he can do some other things as well. I think his passing is good. Hopefully he can attack closeouts in a straight line. But true off the ball player with his cutting, his offensive rebounding. And like that's a huge thing for him in terms of being just like know what his role is, and then he can go play that in the NBA. You broke down the defensive stuff as well. I really like Carter Bryant. I think he's a really good player. I see him, this is probably going to be as high as people have seen him in a mock draft. I'm not nervous about it whatsoever.
Yeah, no, like and like, here's the thing, like the kid is like an awesome kid too. Like, if I remember correctly, I think his grandparents are deaf, and like he does events like in Southern California to try and like, create awareness around, like the issues that deaf people kind of go through. I think his mother might have been like a child of a deaf adult, which is, obviously like incredibly difficult thing to have to deal with as a child. Yeah, like I am an enormous fan of Carter Bryant. Like, and the reason I like this for the Spurs. So the other thing is Colin Murray Boyles, like, is the other guy you could pick here. I think I like Bryant more than Murray Boyles for the Spurs because to me, the whole idea of what you have with Wemby is you want somebody next to him who is big but isn't going to get guarded by centers. And I think that Colin Murray Boyles would have a risk of just getting guarded by centers. And then you put your 4 on Wemby, and then you have the center kind of sitting in the lane to make it harder on drivers and everything. You want to pull the center away from the rim more than anything. So I've kind of soured in a big way on drafting Murray Boyles. If I am San Antonio, I think Bryant is a much better swing for them.
Yep, I agree with that for sure.
Okay. Number 9, you're up, Bryce.
This is the Rockets.
This is the Houston Rockets.
So, like, to me, I'll talk through this with you. Derek Queen is the highest player on my board right here. I think that would be interesting because of his skill set offensively and everything he can do. I don't know that Ime plays him. And so, like my thing here is I feel like the Rockets would take Colin Murray Boyles because of the defensive impact. I want to take Queen because then I think it would be interesting if they take a swing this offseason and, having him in there. But I'll go CMB. I'll go Colin Murray Boyles. I soured on Colin Murray Boyles since our last mock draft, just a little bit. I am really interested to see what he measures at the combine. Just in terms of the length and the wingspan and all of that. Good defender, right? You're going to have to play through his chest, all of that stuff. He does a really good job. He's going to hold his line really, really well. I think he can move on the perimeter. That's going to give him switch versatility, not matchup versatility, but switch versatility. Off the ball deep, like playmaking, active hands, the length, all of that. Obviously on the offensive end, the shooting is going to be the swing skill. Can he do it? Can he not? I think he has a real knack and touch around the rim for his finishing, which I really like. And so that is the offensive game. I came away a little less impressed with the offensive game than I thought I was going to. Where are you at with this offensive game? Like what is it other than the touch? Like, do you really buy the passing? Do you think he's going to shoot it?
I do buy the passing for what it's worth.
Okay.
Like I think he is like somebody that will pass at a pretty real level. Constantly has his eyes up. Just like had to do so much for that team.
Yeah.
Like it was a joke. But I actually like the way he passed on the move a little bit more than what I expected. I think he like shows real like live dribble passes, particularly with the left hand. He can't throw them with the right, but like if he has the ball in his left hand and he's like able to like hit a cross corner kick out, like that is pretty real to me, like out of a short roll. I think he's really good at finding cutters and timing his passes. I think he shows real anticipation in terms of like how to understand defenders and can move them with his eyes in a pretty real way. Only averaged 2.5 assists per game, but like wouldn't take that as indicative of his passing ability.
Sure.
I thought his teammates just like blew open shots all the time, like that he would create. Yeah, like the thing for me is the defense. Like he is a monster on defense. But 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks, has incredible hand-eye coordination, excellent overall team instincts defensively, great closeout technique, rarely makes the wrong decision and X outs onto shooters. I thought South Carolina ran like different ball screen coverages because they were just trying to find answers the entire season, right? And I thought he was good in all of them. More than anything, I think he communicates super well on defense. He was absolutely like the guy that was captaining like the back from the back line for them all the time. I think he's super switchable. He guarded fives most of the time at South Carolina as the biggest dude on the court, but like had no issues switching out onto guards. Offensively, like, can he shoot? That's really what it comes down to for me is can he shoot? I don't have that answer. And honestly, like, I think my guess is that he is never going to be like a super high level shooter.
Yeah.
But I think there is some world where he can shoot. At least like stand still, catch and shoot shots from the corners.
Can I throw an interesting, like, I want you to compare him to like Isaiah Stewart defensively for me. Cause like I find myself going to Isaiah Stewart where he's going to be shorter, but there's a wingspan there. And he's going to hold up with his torso and his chest physically in the lane. Like, that's how he's going to win in the lane. Colin Moore, like, I think Isaiah Stewart's switchable. Murray Boyles, would you say, probably ends up being more switchable on the perimeter or similar in the NBA?
More switchable, probably not as good around the basket as Isaiah.
Okay, so I would agree. And then my thing is, then on the other end, I think he has better touch and passing than Isaiah Stewart for sure.
Totally.
And so to me, it's like, okay, well, if I'm getting an Isaiah Stewart-ish defender with touch and passing on the offensive end, that's a pretty good basketball player for me. Like
I think so too.
You know what I mean? And so, but then I'm like, is he going to be that big and long? Like, that's where I want to see what the actual like standing reach and stuff is compared to Isaiah Stewart, because Isaiah Stewart is barely doing it with his wingspan and height. If Murray Boyles is a couple inches below that, then I get pretty nervous about the rim protection and how good that can be in the lane.
But I will say this, like on primary drives to the rim and like when he's guarding post players, like I do think Murray Boyles is just really good at walling up and using his chest.
I agree.
He's so strong and physical, like through his torso, and has that real length. Like it is honestly like probably more. And like, look, I don't think anybody is going to be Draymond Green on defense. Like that's just my rule of thumb. That is like kind of the closest comparison to what it reminded me of.
Sure.
In terms of the role. I'm not saying he's as good as Draymond, but like the way he captained the defense, the way that he was like an undersized big, the way that, you know, he had crazy length, used his body and chest to like wall up and then could also slide with guys defensively. That's more what it reminded me of than like Isaiah Stewart.
Sure.
Stylistically, not in terms of like the player itself or himself. So yeah, that's where I'm at on Murray Boyles. And look, like to me, Houston's either moving this pick or they're just taking best player available. That's always been their strategy. Like I don't think they worry about fit.
Yeah.
So okay. The only thing I think they won't take is a small guard. Like that's kind of where I'm at with Houston. With them having Reed and seemingly trying to work with Fred here on keeping him, my guess is that they would probably avoid small guard. But outside of that, I think they'll take best player available.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 10, the Portland Trailblazers. And I'm up.
Yeah, this is you.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay. So they just took their big last year in Donovan Clingan. I mean, like...
This is a weird spot because
this is a weird spot, and I wonder if they look to move this pick. Honestly, there's just like a funky situation.
There's a few bigs, right? And then you get to like there's some wings that are interesting, but like it seems a little high for like Neat Clifford, Danny Wolf, those like Essengay.
Yeah. And like you have Scoot, you're seemingly gonna have Scoot be your guy on the ball. So I don't really like Fears here.
And Shaden plays quite a bit on the ball, even in his role. So it's a weird team. To me, they need a wing. Like if I'm the Blazers, I'm looking to trade back for someone who is in love with Derek Queen or think they love Malawach or want to move ahead of the Mavericks for Jeremiah Fears, right? Like is there a team behind them that's like, hey, Dallas is going to take Fears because Kyrie's hurt and you know, we can jump them and Portland can move back 5 spots and take Neat Clifford there.
Okay. So who can we have jumping them for Fears?
Let me look.
Could we do Orlando?
That's interesting.
But in that deal, they're probably just getting Simons, right? Like it's probably just like Portland not giving up 10, and they're just like, here's Simons. We'll take 16, right?
Yeah.
Is it like? Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like this is where it gets like into the really tricky area of the draft, to me, because outside of Dallas, and my guess is that like 11 is floor, fears is floor.
Agreed.
Because I would guess that like Dallas will just take the lead guard, but like what if Dallas moves that pick, right? Like Atlanta does not need a small guard right now. Chicago, it seems like, is going to go with Josh Giddey. San Antonio just traded for De'Aaron Fox. Oklahoma City, just doesn't really draft small guards. Maybe they would take another playmaker, but like they have AJ Mitchell, and they seem pretty good.
And they have Topic, who just took a redshirt year on top of that.
And they have Topic. Yeah, that's actually a really great point. Orlando, I think, would take one. Maybe it is Orlando, and maybe it's not. Maybe there is like a crazy like Simons deal where Orlando is giving up like real stuff or something. Like it's like Tristan Da Silva and 16 and 25 or whatever. Is it 25 that they
25.
have?
Yeah,
25. Tristan Da Silva 16 and 25 for Simons and 10, but that's not enough, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right? Is there someone who would move up for one of the bigs?
So
or would they just like stand pat for a big?
So that was my other thing is like, okay, I have Derek Queen in a tier above the others, but like, I think that's could Chicago fall in love with Derek Queen and thinking they're going to move off of Vooch? But
or could Atlanta want Malawach?
Yeah. But the thing is, those guys are going to fall to him anyway. Like if we're being, I guess because Portland's not going to take a big, no matter what we do here. We're playing Dallas is going to take Jeremiah Fears.
If I'm Atlanta, I'm worried that Chicago takes Malawach.
Okay.
So maybe it's Atlanta. Maybe it's Atlanta that's spiking up ahead of Chicago for Malawach here.
So you take 13 and 22 to go to 10? Is that too much? Not enough? Somebody needs to make an NBA draft chart like the way the NFL has, so that way you can just
13 and 22 for 10. And Portland doesn't really have another pick. It'd be like 13 and. Let's do this. Let's trade this pick. So we're gonna do 10 to Chicago.
Oh, sorry, Chicago, not Atlanta. No, Atlanta's jumping.
No, Atlanta.
Chicago.
Yeah, we'll do Atlanta. Sorry.
Yeah, 13 and 22.
13 and 22 for 10. And then the Blazers also give up like a second, like 2 seconds or something.
Okay.
Right? Something like that? Like, is there something there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have to I think we can go with the caveat that there might be other things to balance the trade.
Yeah, like give up 2 seconds to slide down 3 spots and get number 22. Okay. So this is the Atlanta Hawks on the board now, and they take Common Malawach.
Okay.
To me.
Yep.
So the reason I think they would go Malawach over Queen is because I think that they would want the bigger body.
Yep.
Because they've been, dealing with Onyeka Okongwu for the last year, and like Onyeka is just a little too small at the end of the day. He just struggles to deal with guys who are big. Malawach is just massive. He is a huge, enormous human at 7'2", 250 pounds. Moves well on the perimeter. I have worries about like catching the ball for him if it's anything other than a lob. I do think he can catch lobs though.
Yeah. No, the hands are worrisome because the play finishing is the thing. And he can't drop passes that aren't lobs. He can't get offensive rebounds tipped away from him all the time. like that is huge. There was so many rebounds on both ends that he should get that he didn't. He did not just bobbles,
Yes.
but the other team tipped it away, doesn't get his hands there, doesn't get off the floor. I think that is my biggest worry as I watch more. I had multiple notes through multiple watches through different portions of the year, not just like one day, but I'd watch, casually watch, come back a month later, dive in about not getting off the floor quick enough or not reacting quick enough, no matter what the situation was. And so that makes me a little bit nervous, even though I love a lot of the physical tools, Sam.
Yeah, hand-eye coordination is my biggest concern. Multiple moments this year where he'd get the ball ripped away from him after he brought it down as well. Doesn't control the defensive glass well, 3.4 defensive rebounds per game. Opposing teams grabbed offensive rebounds 4% more often when Malawach was on the court versus when he was off the court. I thought he had a high center of gravity and got pushed around a bit, but here's the thing. He is 7'2". He is in a ridiculous finisher around the rim. He made 80.6% of his shots at the basket, which is among the best marks in all of college basketball. Dunks absolutely everything that he can. Made 67% of his layups. He's not terrible in terms of being able to finish right around the basket. But he's just ultimate play finisher, right? And takes up size takes up real area on defense to me, with how big and long and strong he is.
Yeah, no, the size is really impressive, and I think he fits Atlanta. That's why I like this for Atlanta specifically. Again, I was looking through kind of where my team fits needs type of thing, and he was the top of my list of guys who I thought might still be there at their original pick. And so,
yeah,
I think Atlanta could consider just waiting and getting him there at 13, but I don't hate this if you think Chicago or somebody like that was going to take him. So
yeah, I mean, I can easily see Chicago looking at Malawach and going our defense has been a disaster.
Sure.
With Vucevic, let's get Malawach in and try and get the enormous dude who is a good drop coverage defender.
Yep.
Yeah, that works for me. Okay. So the Chicago Bulls, to recap all of this, the Atlanta Hawks, I'm sorry. The Atlanta Hawks trade up from 13 to number 10. They give up number 13 and number 22. The Portland Trailblazers send number 10 and 2 second-round picks to the Atlanta Hawks. Dallas Mavericks up at number 11.
Bryce. I'll take Jeremiah Fears here.
This seems easy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit worrisome because he's going to have to come in and play right away. But I mean, to me, he's one of the top players on my board. He's easily one of the best, primary initiators for me. I'm a touch lower on a couple of the other guys that other people may be higher on. So I will go Fears. This makes a lot of sense. I think Dallas is probably going to do that. We talked about it earlier in terms of size and stuff like that. He's little bit bigger. I listed at 6'4", but I think I'm
interested to see the measurements.
Yeah,
for sure.
I just think the way he plays, he is a primary creator. With Kasparis, there's a little bit hey, he can play off the ball and some of that stuff. I think with Jeremiah Fears, he either is a primary guy or it doesn't work that way. But yeah, I think he comes in. He has the explosive first step. The passing, I liked it more and more. I watched. He can be creative with angles and live dribbles, eye manipulation, multiple situations, orchestrating the offense. Got to make shots, So that's the thing with him. And then consistently defense, off the ball at times was really bad, really bad at times, which was a little bit frustrating. But I mean, I guess theoretically in Dallas, you have Anthony Davis, Derek Lively II, Daniel Gafford behind you to make up for some of that.
Yeah, when he wanted to defend, clearly had the quickness to stay in front of his man. I don't think that it will go well with him in switches. He's just not strong enough right now. But he also just allowed guys to beat him off the bounce pretty regularly, and then when he got screened, it was just dead. He would just stop playing in recovery. It felt way too often. Off the ball, ball watching, just totally would fall asleep on stuff. Just not a lot of margin for error given his size and like strength levels, right? That's the reality. Like he has a real chance to get attacked and a real chance to get like hammered in screens. Here's the upside swing though. Unbelievable handle. Like get into the paint almost at will. Great first step, like you said. Great change of pace moves, like in and out dribbles and hesitations to get defenders reeling in space. Strings together multiple moves super, super well. Great against slower bigs, I thought. Can get by bigger bodies, just by like playing with bend and like getting low and out leveraging them. Has no problem with physicality on the interior. Like he will go into the paint and like take bumps and go in and like just get drilled and like have no issue with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I really, really respect the fact that he is able to handle those bumps in the way that he does. The real concern here is not a great finisher right now, not a great shooter right now. Made 28% of his threes. Had some moments behind screens where he'd make them, but it was an issue. But then shot 45% at the rim in half court settings, which is just like among the worst marks in this draft class.
Yeah. That's worrisome for a player who we're predicating a lot on like being able to break down the defense, right? Like that. Yeah. He is younger. Like we should at least mention that he is younger. Just 18, doesn't turn 19 till October. So,
yeah. Okay. Number 12, the Chicago Bulls. So you and I had the idea of giving them Malawach a second ago, but you and I aren't the GM of the Chicago Bulls, and the GM of the Chicago Bulls is Arturas Karnisovas. Do you know where Arturas Karnisovas was before he got the Chicago Bulls job?
I actually don't.
He was in Denver.
Okay. Oh.
And had a real role in drafting Nikola Jokic to Denver, and has a real like affinity given the fact that he traded for Nikola Vucevic for players like this. Derek Queen makes a ton of sense to me for the Chicago Bulls. Just an awesome like ass kicker basketball player who's been productive at every level he's ever been at. 16 and a half points, 9 rebounds, unbelievable perimeter game and like feel as a driver at 6'10". I absolutely love the way that he can like use his footwork and deceleration game to have guys bounce off of him and allow him to like maintain his touch around the basket with his finishing ability. Just an incredibly fun basketball player. And the thing we didn't get to see a crazy amount of this year is the passing. Like he averaged 1.9 assists per game. It's there. Like you watch the high school tape, like he can really pass and he has great vision.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a good processor. You can see what he sees in the half court. He has a really good transition outlet passes. And yeah, the off the bounce game, as I went back and watched, was really impressive. He has Euro steps, bump you off the line, floaters, left hand finishes, draws foul. He covers a ton of ground with his first step, even though he's not like this crazy explosive player. I just was really impressed with it. And he can cut, short roll. Go ahead.
Fun question. Who do you trust more to break a press right now? Derek Queen or VJ Edgecombe?
I mean, I think Derek Queen probably has a better handle than VJ Edgecombe. So
I think Derek Queen is the answer too.
Yeah. I mean, so it's an interesting archetype. Like he's not a lob threat. And, so in ball screens, what will it be? I think if he's short rolling, he catches everything. Can he shoot? Because if he can shoot, then the pick and pop becomes real fun. And then can you imagine people closing out to a pick and pop? He's going to destroy them attacking closeouts. So that is all really, really interesting. And then defensively, like you brought up Jokic, that's how he's going to have to be the Jokic Şengün type defender. Hopefully more Şengün, what we saw from him this year, where he's always in the right spot. He has great hand activity. I think he's going to have a really plus wingspan, like just by the film work. I'm interested to see what that is.
For what it's worth, I'm not expecting that.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So maybe I'm not seeing the wingspan, or maybe I'm overstating the wingspan then.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like in the 7-foot ballpark.
Okay, interesting. So that would be definitely come into play for me. But just the playing with verticality, being in the right position, like the court mapping, I think that we see offensively needs to apply, like he needs to apply it defensively. So,
Yep. Totally agree. Okay. Derek Queen at 12. Number 13, I'm up, or you're up now with the Blazers.
Yeah, Neat
I
Clifford.
pass this off on to you. This is great.
Neat Clifford for me for the Blazers. I'm a huge Neat Clifford fan. I just think he's a really versatile wing. I think this played out well for the Blazers in terms of moving back. We'll see what they end up at the other pick, whether it's 22 or whatever that is. Versatile wing archetype, advantage exploiter in all three ways. I don't think he's like an on-ball guy. Like if you go watch a Colorado State game, he did a lot of that. But the more I watch really in depth, the more I saw like he understands off-ball relocations and cutting and offensive rebounding. And he didn't get to show it as much, but I think he can do it. His final, like he was 14 to 29 off screens. I think he can do that. He was 37% on catch and shoot threes this year, 39% last year. But he can do those off the dribble things to attack closeouts. Then the passing really comes into play. I just think he's a really good off the ball wing that is exactly what Portland could use to add to their team. So I like Neat Clifford here.
Yeah, really loved him as an off ball player as well. Great at attacking closeouts, like you said. The key for me is the jumper. Like, is he going to consistently make shots? Impactful defender. I wouldn't say he's like an all defense guy by any stretch, but like, took the toughest assignment for Colorado State regularly. Switchable guards and wings, like don't go through his chest all that often. Dealt with a variety of different player matchups. Really high hands on closeouts all the time. Excellent closeout technique. Blocked some shots as a wing. 0.6 per game. Has like an 8'6" standing reach, which isn't huge for a wing, but like it's passable and it'll work. 35.6 career from three, but was very streaky. 40% from three as a sophomore, 28.8% as a junior. Then fourth year started incredibly hot, made 22% from three in his final 15 games though. This year made 6 of his first 9, then shot 29% over his next 100. Then the following 20 games, he drilled 58%. The final 9 games, he hit 58%. So like, I think it's like a little hitchy from time to time. The jumper is going to be the key though. If he shoots it, he's like a decade-long NBA player to me.
Yep.
Okay. This is the San Antonio Spurs now at 14. I have taken Carter Bryant already.
Yep.
This is probably just best player available at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it could even be a center if you want like the backup big to be able to like have around for if Wemby like misses games, right? Like could be that. Could also be like just kind of anybody that you want to take here to me. This is hard. This is a difficult one, I think. But part of me is like looking at Thomas Sorber and just being like,
I don't hate it at all.
This is interesting as like a too big alignment. This is interesting as a like backup for Wemby when he is out. Someone said they need a shooter. Like we gave him a shooter with Carter Bryant in the first pick here. Honestly, I think they could probably use another shooter, which is like Liam McNeely is probably on the board here.
That's what I was gonna say. Is there's gonna be a lot of they need a shooter. A lot of the guys I have in this range, that's not necessarily what they do great at. Liam is definitely the best shooter. Like, I mean, Walter Clayton is so small, and this is too early for him. But Jace Richardson. But yeah, I think Liam. I think it's the big probably. Or like if you just say we need wing floor spacing, then it's McNeely.
So like, here's one. Could Brooklyn look to move up again using some of its picks to try and just get the big that they want? Right? Or to go get like the player that they want? Because they have all these picks. Like you could do number 14 for... so 14 to Brooklyn for number 19.
And one of the others.
Yeah. 19, 26, and like another future second or something. 19, 20, honestly, like 19, 30, 19, 26, and 36.
I was just thinking, like, I wanted to look at the Spurs roster to see if like they can absorb
that many young players.
Yeah.
They don't have like a ton of depth because they moved a lot of those guys in the Fox deal. Like they don't have like a ton of guys under roster next year.
Yeah, it looks like 10 guys. Like Paul's an unrestricted free agent, then McLaughlin, Bassie, Mamu, Biombo. Then you get to the two-way guys. I think it's 5.
But,
yeah.
But like
okay.
so here's the other answer, right? Is there a way that they could look to move 14 and another pick for Cam Johnson?
Oh.
Like, could you do 14 and so Brooklyn gets 14 in a future first or something for Cam Johnson, or 14. Someone said 14 and Sohan for Cam Johnson.
So we're going to take 5 first-round picks with Brooklyn?
Maybe it's like 14 and 27 for Cam Johnson. Or 14 and 27, 14 in Sohan for Cam Johnson and 27 or something.
Yeah. I like
this
it.
This feels complicated now.
Yeah. That's I don't mind this idea for San Antonio. I don't know that I love Brooklyn adding more first round picks. I like the idea of them
I agree.
Consolidating first round picks to move up if they, if they're going to let Day'Ron Sharp walk or something like that this offseason, they think they're not going to retain him for whatever reason, going up to get Sorber, or, do they like one of the, Wolf or Essengay or, somebody like that?
Maybe it is just like 14 for 19 and 26 and like another pick.
Let me
like
ask
a
you
future second.
Why doesn't San Antonio just take Sorber though? Like, I mean,
we can do that too. I'm good with that.
No, I'm not trying to take it off the board. I'm just, I don't know that who's the backup big on the roster.
It's Zach Collins right now, but like they don't have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe let's just do that. Let's just take Sorber here.
And Collins got moved, right? He got moved.
Zach Collins did get moved. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. So like, it was Bassie and Mamu and Biombo. Like, and again, those guys are all free agents. So I think Thomas Sorber is interesting.
Sorber probably works here. Honestly, I would try to move this if I could, but like, given that we don't want to pause this thing for as long as we have already, we're just going to take Sorber. So Sorber, give me a scout on Sorber while I pull my notes up.
Yeah, so I think it starts on the defensive end. Absolutely love how he contests with verticality. He uses his left hand to block shots. Will take charges, seems to always be in the right position on, off, ball screens. His length contributes to the disruption and playmaking. Very accurate hands. So like when I say accurate, like when he digs at a ball or something like that, it's very accurate. Deflections, all of that. He boxes out for rebounds. Obviously got injured. This is a big man from Georgetown. I have some questions about what the offensive skill set ends up being for him. Not crazy vertical pop or lift, but does have some skill level in terms of some passing. We'll use eye manipulation and some of those type of things. I believe the touch, almost 70% at the rim in the half court, 50% on hook shots. So there's some skill set there offensively. I just wonder what it ends up looking like in the NBA, but I really like the defense.
Yeah, so excellent in drop. Great with his lines and angles, uses his length super well. I think he's going to end up with like a 7'4" wingspan when it comes in. Does a great job playing cat and mouse between the ball handler and the big for a freshman. Really quiet movement style, like doesn't have like jumpy motions, right? Like rarely gets hit with pump fakes. Very good at walling up to use his size to cut off drivers. Rim protection was good. Didn't foul much as well. Just very reactive defensively. Offensively, we'll see what it looks like, right? looking through the notes here, turned it over quite a bit this year, 2.3 times per game. Very below the rim as a finisher.
Yep.
But did make 64% of his layups and 52% of his hook shots. So like there is some touch there. Just not more of like an advantage player, play finisher who can also pass as opposed to like a driver, like Derek Queen, scorer around the rim, like with all sorts of moves. Like it's really just like power to me.
Yeah. And listen, that my worry is the offense could really break down because it doesn't end up being like he's not like a lob threat and stuff like that. So like if you put him in ball screens with De'Aaron Fox or with Steph Castle in a second unit or something like that, what does that look like? Like, how does he continue to break down and exploit the defense when those situations happen? There's a little bit of shooting potential, but I think that's very long-term in regards to that. So,
okay. 15, you are up with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Best player on my board. And I think for the most part, he matches this team, and I'll go Danny Wolf here.
Oh, this rocks. This fucking rips.
Yeah.
This is my pick too, for what it's worth for them.
Yeah, versatile two-way front court player. You have to get on a team that'll be creative with the way they use them. Very creative player. I think, is he going to be a legit 7 foot, Sam?
I think my guess is probably 6'11".
Okay. Offensive
maybe like 6'10", 7'5" even. Like it's gonna like 7 foot in shoes, but not without shoes.
Offensive versatility, would run pick and roll as a handler, then the roll man, pick and pop. I think he understands moving, cutting, spacing, those type of things. Below the rim finisher, the passing is he throws some insane passes, just like ridiculous stuff.
Outrageous.
Touch passes, anticipation, court mapping, eye manipulation, and then he throws some ridiculous ones in the most negative way possible. So, listen, in the games you watch when he's making shots, it's like, this dude is real, like real stuff. My holdup with the shooting is I don't love the mechanics. And so that makes me a little bit nervous, but he has good size. I think he moves okay, he moves okay for as big as he is, even though he's not a vertical pop guy.
I thought he was way better as a switch defender, like laterally, than what I expected.
Yeah. And so, he's very interesting. I think you get him to like a team like the Thunder, and he's not going to have to play right away. He can kind of figure out some of these things and then work into the rotation and figure it out eventually. I like this. So,
yeah. So what do the Thunder care about more than anything? Great human beings, but also dribble, pass, shoot skill, across the entire court. One note with Danny Wolf, like Michigan was drastically better when he was on the court this year. They were 20 points per 100 possessions better with Wolf on the court as opposed to when he was off it. Among the team's 8 players who played at least 300 minutes, that is 10 points per 100 better than the next highest impact player. So like he was impacting the game for them with his presence at a level like so far above and beyond what everybody else was. Great rebounder, averaged 9.8 rebounds per game. Thought he attacked the glass super well. Then when he gets it on the defensive end, he's going. Like it's a grab and go, and you are starting the offense going the other way. Genuinely runs, on ball actions. I loved like a lot of their like Chicago zoom actions that they'd run with him and Vlad Golden, and he'd throw like little entry passes to Golden, like sealing in the paint. Unreal passer, like unbelievable vision. Would find Golden in short rolls, like from creative angles, great timing on his passes, throws live dribble passes. Like for a 7-footer, this stuff is just like completely absurd. There are just too many negative plays right now is the reality. And then as a rim protector, like that's not going to be there. You're going to be like showing and recovering with him defensively. You're going to be like sometimes playing with the 4 even, I think, to get the most out of him. But like they're not going to have Isaiah Hartenstein forever because they're going to have to pay Chet and J-Dub here. So I like the idea of them getting a big now that kind of fits their archetype of what they look for.
I agree.
Okay. I'm up at number 16 with the Orlando Magic. Okay. I have 2 guys here for me.
Okay.
Very, very different players. One of them is Nolan Traore. The other one is Walter Clayton.
I like it.
I think Clayton fits better in terms of like what they actually need. And like, if they're not going to do Anthony Simons, like, I think the idea of getting Walter Clayton in there as a guy who can just like come in and shoot would be like freaking fantastic.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I had him like this is one of the first teams that he showed up high on my list of like, this was a very specific team for Walter Clayton that I would take a little bit higher than what I have him individually ranked. So I agree with you.
But I just have Traore higher on my board. I think he's a better player. It's kind of like a better long-term bet to me. He's been like, if you paid attention to him recently in France, he's been awesome, Bryce.
Yeah, so this was a couple weeks ago. I've been locked into the NBA stuff, but like even a couple weeks ago, watching one of his best games, like watching him run the off. Here's where it really works. Orlando was third in the NBA frequency and pick and roll ball handlers. Like I know a lot of this is like from Paolo and stuff, but they'll run some ball screen stuff, and I think he operates a ball screen really well.
Yeah, like against Le Mans earlier this week, had 21 points and 7 assists, was just a monster. 2 turnovers, like was terrific in that game. That was him and Penda, so I watched that. Against Cholet was 17 and 7. Did have 4 turnovers in that game, but drilled 3 threes. He's shooting the ball better is the big thing right now. Like has made multiple threes in I think 4 of his last 5 games. Against Paris, like a couple of months ago, they played, a couple of times in like a 2-week period. Paris is, one of the best teams in France. 18 points and 5 assists with only 3 turnovers against Paris on Valentine's Day. 20 points and 5 assists with 3 turnovers again, but like just looked super impactful playing against really high level players. I am going to go Traore here. I do think that he is probably the best available player at this point. I just think he's a little bit more like diverse in how he attacks defenses than somebody like Jace Richardson. In like Clayton, if you want to make the case for Clayton, I'm not going to argue with you. I like Traore a little bit better on defense than I like Jace as well. So like, and then Clayton obviously too. So I'll go Traore here.
Yeah, I think his defense is important to bring up because I think his engagement's really good, active hands in passing lanes, making rotations. I thought he had a really good understanding of off-the-ball rotation and gets there early. And then the on-ball defense is solid. It's fine. So I agree with you there.
Okay, 17, you're up. The Minnesota Timberwolves coming from the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, finally conveyed. So, all right, where do I want to go here with the Timberwolves? Really shot the ball. I think I want to just add some more shooting here for the Timberwolves. And so I'm going to go Liam McNeely here with the Wolves. He's just like the guy left right now that's a little bit bigger of the wingy type players, at least, that I trust to shoot. I think of the role he ended up having to play in down the stretch where like he was trying to like initiate offense and stuff. And I think that hurts his number. So like my big like uppercase, I think he's an advantage exploiter when he's playing in the role he should be in. And so in terms of like knocking down shots, being a team defender, I'm a little bit worried about like the all around athleticism and stuff like that. But I think he's going to play hard. I think he's going to knock down shots. I think he's a good off the ball mover, understands off ball movement, relocations, offensive rebounding, some of those things. And so I will go with him here, like understanding that like maybe Essengay has higher upside and, stuff like that. I buy Liam McNeely as a shooter.
Yeah, so I don't mind this pick. The 2 things worth remembering with McNeely are the role, first and foremost, which like he just had to play way more on the ball than what he is frankly capable of right now. And 2, the ankle injury. Like he hurt his ankle like in the middle of the season. And like if you're a shooter and your ankle gets sprained, like it's just fucking hard to deal with. And it's hard to get that back. And like you saw a significant drop in the catch and shoot numbers, like after the ankle injury. Liam McNeely can shoot. Like I'm not at all concerned about that.
Correct. Agreed.
And he's competitive. He has like a great mindset. He's like super serious about this stuff. Like, this is fine to me. This is the range, like 17 to 25 for me is the McNeely range.
I will also say, like, if you tell me that they're not going to have Gobert, Randall, and Naz Reid for whatever reason next season, I would go somewhere different. Like, I just don't know. You know, like, I might be more inclined to Essengay in that situation, or maybe even potentially Asa Newell, but I don't know that. I assume they're going to try to keep that together based off how the playoffs have gone so far. So I would rather go with a wing that spaces the floor.
Yep. Okay. 18 for me, the Washington Wizards. I mean, look, like the way that they've drafted recently, where they just care about like, you know, getting young athletic players in the room, basically. And plus we've already drafted VJ. This just feels like a Noah Essengay spot to me.
Sure.
And this is a conversation just like worth having in general to me. I've seen like a push for Noah Essengay to be like very high on draft boards. Like I've seen him like as a top like 5 player for people on the internet. And the tape does not show that. Just like categorically, I can just tell you right now, the tape does not show him being like a top 5 player. The production at his age is very interesting. I don't disagree with that. He is currently averaging, I can look it up while I'm talking, but like something like 11 points per game and I think like 4.5 rebounds or so in his, 23 minutes that he's playing as an 18-year-old right now for Ulm over in Germany. My question is, like, when you watch him play, there are just so many possessions where he's just like not making an impact to me. Yes, he gets to the foul line. Yes, he like consistently will like find little cracks and creases and like he attacks the glass with ease. But like from a skill perspective, I don't really buy the jumper right now. I think that like he is just not a guy that projects to shoot immediately. There's some touch there that I think he can develop into, but like the mechanical issues right now, I don't love the shot prep. I don't think he really gets into like early shooting position. I think when he does, the base is too narrow. His toes are in a funky position, tends to have his right foot like too far in front of the left foot. And I think he doesn't generate quite as much power. Then like the body looks twisted in terms of the positioning that he gets into. Loads like into the shooting pocket with the elbow out, but also like ends up like shooting it in front of his head in order to get into alignment, then has like a bit of a pause in the shooting pocket. And you just see like wild inconsistency as a shooter. I don't think he's a great ball handler either. Like hard to project him as a shot creator that can create advantages, just very loose with the ball, especially through bumps. Felt like he lost the ball even in like transition when he had some space. Haven't seen much as a passer this year, frankly. Finishing is interesting. Like he's a great finisher in transition, but has only made 47% of his layups this year, which is like a really, really bad number for somebody who is this big. 6'9", 6'10", there's also a weird thing happening with his measurements where at Basketball Without Borders, he was, I think, measured at like 6'9" with a 6'11" wingspan and then had like a 9'3" standing reach. And that's just like not possible, frankly. Like you can't have that little length and have that big of a standing reach if you're 6'9". So like, is it the length number that was wrong in terms of the standing reach, or is it the wingspan number that is wrong is my question. I didn't love him as a screener. I think he very rarely made contact. Defensively, I thought that he is not a positive defender right now. I know he makes like action plays, but he gives up penetration way too easily and consistently in blow-bys when he gets caught on an island with good guards. Plays very upright and kind of hoppy. I think offensive players who change pace really well just like kind of catch him regularly. I think he gets over aggressive helping. I get the statistical profile being interesting here. And he, like, I don't want to like just totally shit on him. Like, there are things that he does really interestingly athletically. I think he's an effective mover without the ball. I think he does a great job working the baseline and like finding the dead zone as a cutter. His 29 half court dunks, which is a big time number. I just don't. I'm just saying, like, I don't see it on tape with him, like, to be anywhere resembling a, like anywhere near like a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I don't have him rated that high or in that tier at all. I have him labeled as a like project forward with tools. And my question with this is, does he end up giving return on investment to the team that drafted him? Like, how long is this going to take to get there? And does the team that drafted him actually end up being the team that gets the payoff? Which at 18, like, I'm a little more comfortable with that. Like with the Wizards, I'm a little more okay with that. So I think this makes a lot of sense.
And they can give him time.
And they can give him time, and they can also give him minutes, like even if it's ugly, because this is going to be a slow rebuild for Washington. So I love this here for Washington and for Noah Essengay. I'm also with you though that like I do not agree with the top 10, some of the even top 5 stuff. I have yet to see that level of intrigue whenever I put on the film. So.
Yeah, like, and people like think of him as like this potential to be a wing. Like, he has not shown anything as a wing player this year.
Yeah, he's a like, forward to me, big. Right? Yeah, forward / big. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's like a 4-5 more than he's a, 3-4. Yeah, like I don't. And look, like I have him personally lower than this on my board, but I think it's like an interesting flyer for the Wizards to take particularly, and I wanted to have the conversation.
Sure.
Okay. 19, the Brooklyn Nets are up. This is the Milwaukee pick.
Yeah, I'm going to take Asa Newell here. This is fine for me in terms of the range. I think this would be an interesting landing spot for him. I am intrigued by some of the guards on the board still, like Seroff, Jace Richardson, Walter Clayton Jr., but I already took Kasparis. And so I think I'll go ahead and go Asa Newell. You can bring him along slowly because of what you have there. I think this is the right team for Asa Newell. Even if people maybe think it's a little bit high, this is actually fine for me with where I have him on the board. And so I like him here. I think the defensive energy and the motor, he's going to be a nightmare on the offensive boards, like all of those things. I have no idea what the offense is actually going to end up being, but that's why he goes to a team like Brooklyn. Yeah. And if he shoots it, it gets really interesting. I have lowered him throughout the process. I had him really high at one point because the more I watch him, like, I don't know what the offensive role is, but I think he plays with verticality. I think he'd be really good as a low man, like those type of things. So I'm intrigued. I think this ends up being a good spot for him. Recovery ability and ground coverage, something we always talk about defensively. Asa Newell has that.
Okay. Number 20, the Miami Heat. Miami Heat just like are in a strange position right now.
So whenever I did my team like needs fits thing to like trying to prepare a little bit, I put nothing because I had no idea. I was just praying I didn't get this pick.
Yeah, like they have certain guys that like they tend to really like, and like a certain player type that they tend to really like. I think that like the player that makes the most sense for them, just given where they are and given that like Davion Mitchell was starting at point guard for them, is probably Jaeger. But I just like don't know if Jaeger is the guy that like fits the Miami Heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Jaeger has to go to a team that runs a ton of ball screen stuff. Like that's my thing with him is the more I watch, the more I was like, he needs a ton of ball screens to be successful. So like that would be the thing. If Miami was going to run a ton of ball screens, then I'm a little more interested. Like if that's what they're going to do.
I'm going to go the guy that like just fits Miami to me here above like everyone is probably Walter Clayton.
Sure.
For me. And they could use the infusion of scoring.
Yeah.
I think that both him and Hero could play together, frankly. Like, I think that would work well. I I have Clayton ahead of like Jace Richardson now on my board after having like done the deep dive. I just think he's like a more diverse offensive player in terms of how he gets into his shots, in terms of how he like finds open areas of the court. I think he is just generally a little bit better on defense right now, but not a lot better. But more than anything, I just think he's a monster shooter. Like one of the best shooters in this class, just point blank. He is so capable of getting into his pull-up game at a ridiculous level. 39.8% off of catch and shoot threes this year, despite 2/3 of them being contested. And with him being at the top of scouting reports, getting the toughest defender every night. Pristine balance on the shot. Very effective off-ball mover because of the shooting. You know, Florida runs like a lot of floppy actions. They run him like DHO stuff where he comes down. Drilled 39% off of screens, 36% off of dribble handoffs from three. Awesome pull-up shooter. Plays it like this kind of funky, bouncy cadence that makes him a threat to pull up at just like any point, right? Just has to be guarded tightly at all times, and then he'll just like leverage you and like get past you. Just like a really, really impactful player to me.
Yeah, no, the floor spacing and the gravity that's going to be that will provide is really, really interesting. I'm nervous defensively what it looks like. Like he loves the ball watch. He does communicate really well on that end. It's just like the size, and there was a possession. I don't even know what game I was watching, but he loses the man, jumps, gets out of position, can't navigate, has to switch, doesn't get the box out, gives up an offensive rebound. Like the size is going to be an issue. Like he's going to have to learn to do all the little guard, like tough things. Like, and maybe this is like going to Miami is perfect for that. Like the digs, the taking charges, the physical switches, like those type of things. But this is one of those where I don't think I'm overreacting to the tournament run, but the tournament run opened my eyes better to what the offensive role could be for Walter Clayton Jr. And I think that ends up being an offensive shot maker off the bench for a team.
Okay. You're up at 21.
And that is Utah, right?
That is the Utah Jazz.
So I have a couple guards that I like. And then like the bit, Beringer. I'm actually going to go with a guy that I'm lower on than the last time that we did this, but I'm still higher on than you. So I'm interested to see if you feel okay in this range. I'm going to take Rasheer Fleming here with this pick. A guy, like I said, I've been really high on. I've taken in the lottery before, but have dropped a little bit. So I think at 21, this is a good spot for Rasheer for me. And I just think he's a versatile forward that can play like the 4 in the NBA. The shooting was huge for him this year. I think that's what it comes down to with a lot of people is, do you actually buy it? I've had people question the mechanics. I understand it. And then just like how quickly does he process things, especially on the defensive end? Can he attack closeouts? Can he be a real advantage exploiter? But he has a good wingspan, good athleticism. I kind of buy him being able to do all of the other things at a good enough level. And I do buy the jump shot.
Yeah. I have some more questions on the jumper, I think, than you do.
Sure.
I don't think he can really dribble is like a big issue for me. Like, I think he's like a big. I don't think he's a wing. I think he's like a 4-5.
He's like
not a 3-4.
I would agree that he's like Gay in that way. I also I don't know. I don't love the idea of him playing a lot of 5 though. Like I think he has to be able to play the 4 next to a center for a majority of his minutes would be my opinion.
I think that's probably right. Has like an elongated release on the jumper. It takes him a while to get it off.
Yeah.
Big time dip. I think he needs like shorten things to quicken the release.
I agree with that.
I don't think he maps the court well at all. Like, I don't think he processes what's happening on the court quickly enough. I don't think he's like a selfish player. Like, he doesn't take like terrible shots. It's just like, I think he gets stuck a lot of the time. And then defense, like, I think he's like being overrated defensively. Like, I totally get the tools on defense. Like, he's 6'9" with like a 7'4" wingspan. Like, he's massive, but like had 4 fouls in 11 games, at least 4 fouls in 11 games. Just gets like really handsy. I think he struggles to like be able to stay in front of dudes on defense generally.
And his closeouts specifically are rough. Like, I have multiple notes of like, he like he jump stops on his closeouts, which means then his change of direction is late in those situations.
Yeah, this is just this is like more of a like late first, like early second flyer to me, as opposed to like here. But I get the idea at least.
Sure.
Okay, 22. I'm up with the Portland pick again.
Okay. And I took Nick Clifford for them already. Yep.
So this is where like I actually am okay taking a guard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also like thinking about Will Riley a little bit as like just another shooting wing kind of.
Wow. Okay. I need to hear your Will Riley because I feel like this was not somebody you would love.
Maybe we'll get to him later because I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I am going to take Jaeger here.
Okay.
I like the idea of taking like a big guard here because a lot of what they built is like size across the perimeter and across the like wings, with Kamara being super long and Shaden Sharp is super long. And, you know, obviously Denny is massive. And then Klingon, like they have this really interesting like defensive archetype of player groupings. Jaeger's obviously not like a great defender right now, but then you have Scoot, obviously. Look, like I like the idea of them taking a player to give them some cover in case Scoot is not the guy, but also taking a guy that like might be able to play with Scoot if Scoot like continues the trajectory he's on as a shooter, and like might be able to play with Shaden Sharp if Shaden like continues to prove himself as an interesting player. I also just like the idea of them like getting another guard in the building. And this guy is just very different than what they have. Like he's somebody that could play with Simons because he's so big and can make passing reads. Like I actually kind of like the idea here of having Demon be like, you know, drive and kick, drive and lob, having different playmaking styles to be able to complement some of the players that they already have.
I like this actually. I do. And I'm a little lower on Jaeger compared to the consensus. I think this is actually like right where I have him on my board though. But I like this fit for him. They run a lot of ball screens by looking at the frequency percentage. And I think you just slot him into a backup, you know, ball screen initiator. And I love that role for him. What I don't like a role for him is like he comes in and you're counting on him to become the primary initiator on your team. But you tell me you end up with an interesting backcourt combination of Scoot, Shaden, and Jaeger. And then you have like these wings of Tumani and who am I forgetting? Who am I? Just Tumani right now, right? No, Denny. Gosh dang, how can I forget Denny? And you know, we drafted Nick Clifford, and then you have the bit like that's an interesting group of players right there. And as you mentioned, that backcourt specifically is all a little bit different from each other. So maybe too many guys that want to play with the ball in their hands, but that's a Chauncey thing to figure out. I don't mind this at all, Sam.
Yeah. No, I think this works. Okay, number 23, you're up with the Indiana Pacers.
Like this is another one that just like happens all the time. I'll take Jan Beringer. Big, moves well, you know, play finisher, you know, rim protector, all of those things. I have, you know, I don't think I'm of the mindset that Miles Turner does not leave this offseason. So like I'm not projecting him to go in there and
still need another body.
Exactly. Like this isn't a, hey, you can come play starting center for the Indiana Pacers. This is a, hey, they don't have a backup center necessarily in this mold. And I think their play style could fit him very well. So I love it as you can be Miles Turner's backup for the next 3 or 4 years. And then we'll see how you develop. And then maybe you overtake that whenever he ends his next contract.
Yeah, I think that's right. Unbelievable athlete. First and foremost with Beringer, great hands, catches everything in his area, catches absolutely freaking everything in his area. Will catch out of area as well. Came to basketball late, you know, a kid that, you know, just didn't grow up playing basketball, and it's going to take a minute probably to develop. He is a like Clint Capella style, like run and jump big. You know, he's like 6'10" is going to be my guess in terms of what he comes in at when he gets measured. Something in that ballpark without shoes. So like a little bit undersized comparatively to most centers, but is going to have real length. I think like 7'3", 7'4" wingspan. And again, just like moves incredibly well. And like awesome, I've been told like incredible kid too, like unbelievable worker, great kid. Like the intel there is awesome as well. So reason to believe it. And more than anything, like for the Pacers, sprinting the court, this
Yep.
kid's going to run the court with Tyrese and those guys. Like it's kind of a perfect fit for their offense more than anything.
Yep.
Okay. I am up now with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I am going to go slightly off board here. We're going to go Cedric Howard.
Love it.
I think that Cedric Howard
is awesome.
I think he's awesome. Just point blank. This is way lower than what I have him. I just don't know that NBA teams are quite as high on him. I have Cedric Howard like at the edge of my lottery, personally.
Nice. Cool.
Like right around that ballpark. Played like 6 games this year, 18 points, 4 assists, 7 rebounds, shot 55% from the field, 40% from 3 over multiple years now. I mean, look, I saw him work out, and it's one of those things where like you see a kid where like all of the kinetic energy like flows in the right way, right? Like everything is smooth. Like kids that are 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan, 7'1" wingspan, like Cedric Howard has. There's supposed to be some awkwardness there, right? There's supposed to be some like kind of funkiness with how they move. And with him, there's just none of it. It's all a smooth one motion jumper. It's smooth getting into like Euro steps. It's smooth getting to where he needs to be. He's not the most explosive dude in the world, but I think he's like kind of added some explosiveness since the last time we saw him. Like I said, I'm way higher than this on Coward. I just don't know where teams are. He obviously is committed to Duke now, and we will see what happens with that. Maybe he goes to Duke, maybe he doesn't. Also, just like an awesome kid. When I talked to him after I saw him work out, I asked him just like, okay, so like you look the way you do, and you understand that you look the way you do. Like you're 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan. Like you look like a basketball player. You look like an NBA basketball player, right? How did you not get found? Because his journey is that he was at a D3 school, then went to Eastern Washington, then this year just transferred with his coach to Washington State. And he was just straight up with me. He was like, yeah, I just wasn't very good at that point. Like, I was just like, this is fucking awesome. Like, great. Like, it wasn't like this underdog story. It wasn't like him trying to like create a narrative in his own brain. He was just like transparent and just went, yeah, I wasn't good enough yet. I improved a lot my year. I forget what college he went to. It was like Willamette maybe or something. I improved a lot that year I went to D3, and then I've improved a lot basically every place since.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, that's great.
And of course, for people to know, he only played 6 games this year before an injury, but
shoulder injury for what it's worth. For when I talked to him, he told me, not cleared for contact yet, and this was a couple weeks ago. Maybe he is now. This is old information potentially. But like the shoulder, there's no pain in the shoulder. Like it's just, he has to work himself back up in terms of like getting everything strong and the muscles like back to where they need to get to.
Yeah. Big Coward fan. I'm with you. I have him in my first round, not as high as you, but really interesting player, that just a 2-way wing that I think teams are going to end. I'll be surprised if some teams don't fall in love with him, and we'll see if he stays in or not, I guess.
Okay. 25, you're up with the Orlando Magic. They have already taken Nolan Traore.
Can I go another smaller guard
yes,
for Orlando?
Yes,
I can.
They need shooting and guards. Like whatever you want to do here.
Okay, so then it's between Seraph and Jace Richardson for me. I'm going to go. What?
Don't give them another non-shooter, please.
You don't think Jace Richardson can shoot?
Oh, I think he can shoot.
Yeah,
I was talking to Seraph.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm going to go Jace Richardson.
Excellent work.
I was just saying, those are like the 2 guards I had that are like they're the 2 highest rated players on my board. So no, I will go Jace Richardson. Obviously, I think for a lot of people, this is going to be a surprise that Jace has lasted to this point. My worry with him is he's small and one-hand dominant, and I don't think he's a primary initiator. I think he's a secondary, second side shot maker, jump shooter, attack a closeout, those type of things. I think that's who he is. And I think then his skills really play well as in that role. So that's where he's at for me.
It's almost like, to me, he's like a 6'2", like RJ Barrett with better touch.
Sure. Yeah. I think the defense is interesting. Navigates screens, move his feet, gives his chest, off-ball engagement. He's always stunning at drive. Some of those things. Has a little bit of athleticism with the recovery block. So I like him. I like him a lot more if I'm taking him into the first round where he's like a fourth guard off the bench that can come in, knock down shots, and do those type of things.
So like extremely left-hand dominant. Yeah. He is exceptionally good with the left hand, but like has to improve the comfort level with the right.
It's funny you say Barrett because I put in my notes in the same way Barrett does. Like maybe he's just really good at always getting to his left hand and being able to do that. But
yeah, I put in the draft guide thing that I've written on Jace. To quote philosopher Derek Zoolander, he's not an ambi-turner, just does not want to go right.
I know that movie.
There we go. I'm proud of you. Really spatially aware, but I think like he has some mechanical stuff he needs to fix. Like I thought his footwork getting to his pull-up was really bad. Only made 27% of his pull-up threes this year. Felt like he had to take some extra steps to kind of get into it, and like often ended up with kind of a narrow base, and like he'd lose some power going up through the shot. I think the handle just has like a lot of room for growth. I think he takes very wide angles off of screens and like DHOs and things. Doesn't have suddenness in like isolation situations. I think he tends to pick up the ball when defenders like really get tight with him in like tight quarters, right? Also like against longer athletic defenders, like I can really see that being a problem. Also limited as a passer. Like I don't know if I saw him pass with his right hand this year. Like just genuinely, I'm not sure I saw it. And that feels somewhat concerning for a player this small. It wasn't much of a defensive playmaker either. I do agree with you that like thought for sure on defense, but yeah, Jace is an interesting guy because obviously his incredible touch was unbelievable with the left, but I do wonder how much of it was like, people bitching at Izzo, myself included, for not playing him earlier. I do think that like the scheme that Izzo created where he was like having him start on the right side of the court, take dribble handoffs, getting to his left. Like they really actualized him really well this year.
Sure.
So, okay. Jace at 25. I'm up at 26. This is the Brooklyn Nets taking whoever I want them to take. Okay. So best player left on my board is, I think, Noah Penda. So let's just do that and talk through Penda, I think. Okay. Where is Noah Penda? Noah Penda at 43. Okay. So interesting, kind of strange player, like 6'8" or no, I think 6'7" is what he measured at without shoes. We have a measurement on him because he measured at the like Young Stars French game. So 6'7" with a 6'11" wingspan, 8'9" standing reach, massive hands, 245 pounds now is what he came in at. Like this dude is a bear. He is a massive human. I think he actually plays with like a low center of gravity and like has bend despite being like that thick and strong. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's like a high feel connector on the court. I like him best on defense personally. Really great anticipation, great instincts, really good like disruptor off the ball. I love his rotations, very timely when he's the low man on the weak side, tagging rollers, then like big and strong and like can really use the size and verticality to stop them in his tracks. Good at playing in space while taking away the lob, but maintaining connectivity to the corner closeout. We'll block shots from the weak side occasionally, but more of it like just available to contest and take away the lob. Walls up super well because he's so strong and physical. Always stays really big. Switchable defensively. Everything on that end is really good. Offensively, it just depends on where you think the shot's going to be. I really liked him as a passer. Really like him as a like point forward-ish, type of player a lot of the time, and like connective tissue player, but it does come down to the shot and where you think the shot is going to get to. The numbers I have here as of like last week, where are we at? Let's see here. Why have I lost this? Okay. So, not much of a pull-up shooter, 29.4% on pull-ups, 25% on pull-up threes last year in second division France. This year he's made catch and shoot threes at 36%, but has long been a sub 30% guy from three. And then the other issue for him is 52.9% at the basket in half court settings right now, according to Synergy, including having only made 47.5% of his layups.
Yeah. My thing with Pinda is I think he has advantage exploiter potential. I actually really buy his like off ball movement, cutting, offensive rebounding. I buy him as a ball mover and those type of things. My word, like I think he can attack a closeout. I'm not sure I buy his finishing because there's not a whole lot of explosion, but you talk about the build, like that always pops. And then can he shoot? I'm a little lower on the defense is why, like, this is fine for me with Pinda. Like, this is definitely the range. I definitely don't have him much higher than this though, because like, I think the defense is fine. But I'm not as high on it. So
I don't think he's like a monster defender. I think he's like a positive defender, like on the court, basically.
Yeah.
Like I like his decision-making and anticipation across the court. I do worry about the foot speed on defense for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. 27. You're also up with a Brooklyn pick.
So like, I feel like we need to get them shooting, and we've taken Kasparis, Asa, and Pinda.
Do it.
Ben Seroff.
Oh, I thought you were going to take a shooter.
Oh, no. Who?
Will Riley.
Oh.
Yeah. You're going to take Seroff over Riley every time.
I am, yeah. Listen, I have him. He's the best player on my board. He's another guy, though, that like I had much higher than this at one point. And listen, I'll just I don't think the Nets should take 4 first-round picks in this draft for what it's worth. So I don't like this for them. I, again, just think he's one of those guys that creates a ton of space. But he's, again, a strong left-hand driver. The right hand is a worry. But he does body, contact, bumps, balance, all of those different things. He can create separation. He can decel, all of that. I don't know what to think about the jump shot. The games I watched for like the most recently had some really, really bad misses. I get it. I understand it. Defensive activity and energy is good, but it's not always solid. It's just like at this point, if I'm the Nets and I'm going to take 4, I'll take my upside with Seroff here. I understand people who don't, but at 27, I like this. So
I think 27's fine for Seroff. I have him a little bit higher than this, but like it's hard to find the fit at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. Like there weren't many where I'm like, oh, he's the guy, and that makes me wonder. I'll walk away wondering.
Nervous.
So yeah.
Okay. I will have the Will Riley conversation here. With the Celtics, because like what's the rule for the Celtics? It's like you have to be able to shoot.
Yeah.
Right. I do think Will Riley is a questionable shooter. I wouldn't say he's like this guy is definitely going to make shots like full scale. It's inconsistent right now because the mechanics are truly all over the map. Starts with the base, like extremely narrow base, feet close together, affects his balance through the shot. Like, I don't think I saw a player this year who had more different landings when he like ended up landing after shooting, like split-legged, left behind the, right, like in a split, like full scale. Like it was so bizarre watching the way that he would just like randomly land. Made 34.5% of his catch and shoot threes this year. Bizarrely made under 30% in spot up attempts. I have no idea how like the standstill threes were worse for him than the movement threes, but they kind of were. The issue right now for me is that like he kind of flattens out the trajectory on the shot. I think that the goal here, though, is for him to be like a real shooter. Made a bunch of like impressive movement threes, I thought. Like the key is just going to be ironing out the mechanics. I think he has real touch, and like the touch showcases throughout the rest of his game. When teams like started to like really put more pressure on Yakashonis this year, they really leaned into playing Riley in ball screens, and I thought that was effective. Good finisher for someone without a ton of strength or length. 60% of his attempts at the rim in half court settings per synergy, took 3 of those shots per game. I think his gathers toward the rim for somebody who is not very strong right now are awesome. Like, controlled on his drives, understands how to decelerate and change speeds, has a really good Euro step, understands how to use a slow step, made 57% of his layups, despite the fact that he just like gets bumped all over the place and like has no, like, the way that he maintains his touch through bumps is like super, super impressive to me. Really nice floater game to counter, made like 45% of his floaters this year. Sharp passer off of his drives, 2.2 assists to 1.2 turnovers.
Yeah.
This is just kind of a Boston-y player to me, given the size as well.
Yeah, no, I think he's willing. You brought up the passing. I think he'll be a plus passer for the role he's going to be in. I've liked his off-ball movement, cutting, offensive rebounding, and then, just the offensive skill level, nuance, and creativity. He had scored, can score in a variety of ways. I like it. I think the defensive end is going to be interesting. I mean, he's going to have to knock down shots, and then he's going to have to put on strength. But he does those two things, and it gets real interesting with him being a great return as like this advantage exploiting wing. And so, I don't mind this. This is the tier I have him in. This is very much the range I have him.
Yeah, I think this is right around right for Will Riley. Phoenix Suns at 29. You're up with your last pick.
Yeah, I'm going to take Hugo Gonzalez here. He's the best player on my board. I have no idea what the Suns are actually going to do this offseason. Potential two-way wing, emphasis on potential. If he can shoot it, I think he has the handle. Defensively, plays really hard. Like, he does some interesting things with the ball in his hands on the offensive end. So some versatility there, cutting, some pick and roll ball handling, had a left hand finish, above the rim finish, Euro step finish. So I think that is all really interesting. Where are you at on Hugo's defense? Because I know he plays really hard, but I have sometimes I watch and I come away not overly impressed with where it's at right now.
I think he's super active and aggressive, and I think he's going to be a good defender.
Sure.
I'm fine with that. I think he's overly aggressive right now at times, and that causes him issues in terms of over helping.
Getting out of position. Yeah. Okay.
My issue is it just feels like he hasn't played a lot, and every time he comes in, even with their injuries recently, and he's played more, it just feels like he's trying to do so much that. Even on offense, it just feels like, oh, I'm trying to do everything right now. I'm trying to go as hard as I can, 100%. On offense, I think his decision-making breaks down a little bit because, you're right, he can dribble, but not at a good enough level to actually play at the end, at a real level on the ball in the NBA at least, right? So, it just feels to me he's a great athlete. I totally buy that. I love the motor. I love the aggressiveness. It's an interesting deal.
Yep.
Okay. 30 now for the LA Clippers. I think this is just kind of an easy pick, I guess. I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody, but I am going to go Phylon here.
Okay.
Very skinny and very developmental, but if you're at 30, that's probably where the reality is. I was hoping to end up a little bit higher on Phylon than I did. I have him 25 to 30, somewhere in that ballpark. Just kind of pulling up my notes now. Quick twitch athlete, buzzy speed, his feel for the game. I think he really processes things quickly around him. I liked him best on defense. I thought he made life really hard for opposing players. Really quick, just beats guys to their spots, really likes to crowd them and get into their space. I think he takes really good routes in ball screens to get around them and navigate them. Even though if he gets clipped, it's kind of over just because he's so skinny right now and needs to continue to grow. Not switchable because of the strength, but really fights and competes. He'd work to front the post at a really high level. I really liked that. Constantly trying to poke at the ball. Offensively, he's more of a traditional point. that just like didn't get a chance to do that this year all that often.
For sure.
I like how decisive he is as an attacker. Like if he was, attacking a closeout, like I really liked how aggressive he was. I love him in transition, super attack oriented mindset. Best out of ball screens, really good pace, I think, in ball screens, like snakes ball screens, and will just like cut off angles, and then like uses his frame to put bigger defenders in jail, even though like he's just so skinny right now. I think his best skill is probably the passing, though. It's either the passing or the defense. Just a sharp playmaker, good touch on lobs, like throws live dribble passes pretty somewhat regularly, not super regularly, but like 3.8 assists versus 1.7 turnovers. Played the third most minutes this year on an Alabama team that was awesome, which is like kind of crazy.
Yeah,
I
wouldn't
really
have guessed that. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
I really like Phylon.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up like the point guard thing, because I think that as well. Great touch in the lane. I love the low center of gravity he plays with, change in direction, all of that. So yeah, I think this is it. Assuming he stays in and all of that, I think this is a great spot for him. Again, like you, this is the range I have for him as well.
My only issue is like I think he's going to be a good NBA player at some point, like, but it might not be until he's like 25 because like the shot needs work.
Yep.
Like he needs to continue to fill out the frame. The guy that it reminds me of a lot is Chris Dunn.
Oh, okay.
And obviously they have Chris Dunn already. Like the aggressive defense, the passing, like the playmaking, probably like a little bit better of a ball handler than what Chris was, but like doesn't quite have the same level frame that Chris did, where Chris was like physical and strong when he entered the NBA. Interesting player, but like it just might take a minute. Like if you made me pick like 20 guys in this draft where I was like, this guy's going to be really good at some point in the NBA, Phylon would probably be on that list. But like that's not how I rank draft players. Like I rank players based off of like the value that your team is getting by drafting you.
Yeah.
So like I'm skeptical that the first team that has Phylon will get the best out of him, but I think he's going to be a good NBA player at some point.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay. To recap, number 1 to the Raptors, Cooper Flagg. Number 2 to the Jazz, Dylan Harper. Number 3 to the 76ers, Ace Bailey. Number 4, VJ Edgecombe to the Washington Wizards. Number 5, Con Knipple to the Charlotte Hornets. Number 6, New Orleans Pelicans take Trey Johnson. Number 7, Kasper Siakis taken by the Brooklyn Nets. Number 8, the San Antonio Spurs take Carter Bryant. Number 9, the Houston Rockets take Colin Murray-Boyles. Number 10, the Atlanta Hawks trade up to get Common Malawach. Number 13 and number 22 for number 10, along with 2 second-round picks. Jeremiah Fears, number 11 to Dallas. Number 12, Derek Queen to Chicago. Number 13, Nick Clifford to Portland. Number 14, Thomas Sorber to San Antonio. Number 15, Danny Wolf to Oklahoma City. Number 16, Nolan Traore to Orlando. Number 17, Liam McNeely to Minnesota. Number 18, Noah Essengay to the Washington Wizards. Number 19, Asen Newell to Brooklyn. Number 20, Walter Clayton to the Miami Heat. Number 21, Rasheer Fleming to the Utah Jazz. Number 22, Portland takes Jaeger Demon as part of that trade down that they made with the Atlanta Hawks. Number 23, Indiana Pacers take Johan Berenger. Number 24, the Oklahoma City Thunder take Cedric Coward. Number 25, Jace Richardson goes to the Orlando Magic. Number 26, Noah Penda to Brooklyn. Number 27, Ben Suraf to Brooklyn. Number 28, Will Riley to Boston. Number 29, Phoenix Suns take Hugo Gonzalez. Number 30, the LA Clippers take LeBaron Phylon. Woo!
Good job.
Only stumbled once there. Guys that we did not draft here today, who is the highest rated player on your board?
So the names on my board would be, I like Maxime Renault, Janai Broom, Drake Powell, Pettiford, Cam Jones, Tyrese Proctor.
So mine would be Yaxel Lendeborg.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I skipped Yaxel. He's definitely in that list as well. My bad.
Yeah, would be questionable whether or not he's in this draft, I think, as much as anything now. Let's see. Like Ryan Kalkbrenner, I think, is the next highest guy. We drafted like most of my first round right now. Almost all of them, actually. It's hard for me because like my board is like the guys that I think are actually in the draft. So it's like a little bit tricky.
It's a weird situation right now, right? With like who do we think is actually staying in, who isn't, like those type of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Jedi Broom's up there. Tyrese Proctor's up there. I mean, like, we didn't draft Drake Powell. That might be a thing. We didn't draft Tahad Pettiford. That might be a thing. Bogoljub Markovic, who I'm like not quite as in on as others are. But yeah, I mean, that's the grouping, I think.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Every player we drafted was in my top 35. So
Yes. Yeah. Who was my lowest drafted? I think Rasheer was my lowest drafted.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So Bryce, it's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, we will talk.
Actually, yeah. We'll talk about the pit next episode.
Yeah. Yep.
Tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky. Not doing a whole lot on the Substack right now. That'll pick up a little bit more the offseason. But if you want some video breakdown, I just dropped why Josh Hart was incredible in Game 1 of the Knicks-Celtics series. While Jalen Brunson and OG and Mikal Bridges are getting all sorts of love, I thought Josh Hart made momentum play after momentum play. You can find that on GMAC's Knicks Film School YouTube channel. 12-13 minutes of Josh Hart just making big-time plays in Game 1. If you want to check that out, the Pistons Pulse podcast, if you want some Pistons off-season content. Otherwise, keep it right here with the Game Theory podcast with the Sam Vecenie.
Bryce is the best. Go follow all of his many places of work. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed. I will obviously have a mock draft as soon as the lottery goes live next week. Bryce, do you know what happened last night?
What?
I cracked 100,000 words on the draft guide officially.
Goodness, that's so many words.
That's where we're at. It's where we're at in this thing. I'm through 46 or 47 names now. So like we're closing in here and it's like all of the top. Like I haven't done like all of them at this point in terms of the early second round guys. But, you know, yesterday was Zion James, Elijah Martin, Micah Peavy, and Max Shulga. So like rolling through those guys, I will do like Chaz Lanier, probably Hansen Yang today. And then, you know, maybe Markovic would be next for me, but like Markovic would be easy because I've just got off of a week of seeing him live a month ago. So yeah, interesting time. You guys will get the draft guide at some point over at The Athletic. We're rolling through that right now. Go subscribe to the Game Theory podcast over on YouTube. That is the best place to get it. We have cracked 30,000 subscribers over there. We appreciate you guys immensely. It is we're so grateful to everybody who has subscribed to the show over the course of the last like month and a half. I mean, we've spiked in such a significant way. We appreciate you guys immensely as you guys find the show, support the show, hang out. Bryce and I, or Andrew and I, will be back tomorrow. I'm not sure what the schedule will be. We will see. We definitely want to talk through some playoffs because of the craziness that's happening in the playoffs, such as last night. But we needed to get a mock draft off and get that done because we needed one pre-lottery. And then next Tuesday, we will also have a mini mock draft for sure following the lottery, where the picks will go much quicker. We will go through the lottery immediately after this thing happens and just kind of roll from there. So I'm excited to go through it. Bryce, this has been fun. Until next time, we'll talk soon.